I was like, homie, you're welcome here anytime, brother. Like
I just lost respect for him because if he really believes you're cheating, then you.
True.
Right? Like, stand up for yourself, you fucking spineless coward.
True.
Either you fucking believe it, stand by your morals, right?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jessica Sam.
And I'm a level 100 rogue.
Ooh, yeah.
I just hit a level 100, dude.
Damn.
I'm actually super salty because there's this NPC in the game called the Butcher.
Okay.
Where you'll just be roaming around. I remember the first time I encountered the Butcher, I was like level 12 during like the beta. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hear fresh meat. And this giant dude with a giant cleaver just comes and like he's got insane health.
So it's like a world boss?
It's like a roaming dungeon boss that just shows up randomly.
That's sick.
I only saw him once during the beta. And he's pretty tough. If you have like a really powerful character, then it's fairly easy to beat him. But if he catches you off guard, a lot of times, like if you use up, you normally have like 9 potions. And like, you know, you might use 2 or 3 potions, but you kill a bunch of stuff and there's 5 potions on the ground. You're always filling up. Sometimes it's like, oh, I was, you know, that pack of mobs was really rough, you know, used all my potions, and all of a sudden you hear fresh meat. You're like, because like he just chases you down. If you run away, he'll like hook you and pull you back, and he's faster than you. It's horrifying.
That's amazing.
And my XP bar, I was at level 99, and my XP bar was literally on the edge. And Dines, that people might know from Tarkov land, he was playing with me. He's level 100. And he like ran over and I'm like, no, let me have him. Like, I need to kill him. That needs to be like my level 100. And I killed him. And it was like 3,000 out of 15 million XP away. I'm like, God damn it. I killed like the next trash mob and I didn't go over 100.
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's
dope. So level 100, is this another one of those, this is where the end game begins thing? Or is this like a proper, like you can retire this character?
I mean, I won't retire the character. Like at this point, this character, there's a couple things you can do. I mean, you can just like keep playing,
like min-maxing, and
there's no progression. I've used up all the skill points. All I can do is try to improve my gear very, very incrementally. You know, like 33% critical strike chance on my rings instead of 31. You know, that kind of. You can go fight Uber Lilith, which is like
Uber Lilith. Lilith is mommy, right?
That's mommy. Yep. She's like the pinnacle boss of the game. She's like the like antagonist of the storyline. But you fight like the echo of Lilith, and that's a whole other ball game. Like I watched one of the best Diablo 4 players. And super knowledgeable guy. Like he does all the guides. Like he and he also plays a ton of hardcore, maybe exclusively hardcore. So you die. Yeah. And he got very quickly. He was one of the first level 100 hardcore players. He made a level 100 hardcore rogue, then made a level 100 hardcore rogue, then made a level 100 hardcore rogue. He just like. And then made like a 98 and died to some like unfortunate mistake he made. Just like at level 98 he died. But this guy, one of the times, it was like the second or third character. He went in as soon as he hit 100. He went right to Lilith and started the fight. So there's something called a scroll of escape, which is like you like hotkey it, you press the button. And it like teleports you instantly back to town, and like that's what hardcore players like. Usually they have like a potion that might save them if they are about to die, or the scroll of escape, which he he was easily doing like 2 or 3 million damage regularly per hit, which is like a ton of damage.
Yeah.
And 24 minutes into the fight, he had to use the scroll of escape.
Jesus.
24 minutes. And basically, if you get hit by like anything, you die. And it's like bullet hell, mobs going around. Every time you hit her, she'll like drop these like boils on the ground that like if you touch them, you die. They spit out like these little slow moving ghost things that if they touch you, you die.
Jesus.
There's like crisscrossing waves of that like if you touch them, you die. Yeah.
Damn.
I went in there and like stabs, and you see like million, 300,000 to 700,000, million, and her health bar just doesn't move.
Oh my God.
And then like all of a sudden you just get hit with a wave and you're just dead, and it's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So, it takes people hundreds and hundreds of attempts to beat her. So I could try to do that.
Yeah.
I'd have to like respec my character because there's no way I just wouldn't be able to do it. It would take.
And like in a game like this, correct me if I'm wrong, but like part of the game is like doing it again, like you do multiple characters and stuff. Like in a game like World of Warcraft, right? Like you have like your dude that you're playing for years and years and years and years and all the expansions. But Diablo has always been like run it again, right? Like we're like just doing the experience again with a new character and new builds and new stuff is like that's kind of part of the end game almost.
Yeah, what I enjoyed the most when I played Diablo 2 was I would basically get my character like insta rushed, and I'd like I'd spend like $7 on one of those like Chinese websites, the like RMT, the like just to get like my gear, and I would get a character to like level 85 in like maybe an hour, just getting like someone power level you. And then all I did was I wanted to like rush people and power level them. That was fun for me. And now it also took like if you were like level 95 to get like a quarter of the way to level 96 was like months.
Damn.
They just recently in Diablo 4 buffed the XP you get from like the end game dungeons. And like it's like 6 or 7 dungeons that take like 4 or 5 minutes to get from like 99 to like 100.
Really? So it's really not like it used to be.
No, not at all. But so,
wow.
Yeah, I rediscovered something that used to be really big. There's a website called JSP, D2JSP. There was different JSP.
Okay.
I don't need to get into the history of that, but there's different JSPs for like different games, and Diablo 2 had its own, and that was like a big trading hub. It has its own currency, forum gold, basically, that like you could either buy it or just get it otherwise. And so people would like post on the forums items for sale. They could sell a bunch of items they weren't going to use or whatever. They get a bunch of gold, and then you could use it to like buy stuff to outfit your character. So it's like a weird mini game around outside of the game on this website, having like
interesting,
like getting rich from, but that is now like the modern version is on the official Discord. There's a whole trading channel, but it's so funny. It's the same lingo. It's the same verbiage.
Yeah.
It's the same, all the way down to there would be a guy that was like, selling the best GG paladin items here, and it was always a really poorly smattered together copy pasted Microsoft Paint collage with like yellow number 1, number 2, and then they type out number 1 is this much, number 2 is this much, and like auction starts 15 minutes after the last bid, blah blah blah, and it's like the same now. It's like I'm kind of back into that.
I love it. That's so sick.
So, I might just do PvP, farm all of that stuff, and then just try and get like the super expensive rare things, and then just sell those. Then I'm probably gonna make some new characters, but I'm just instantly gonna get like power leveled.
Yeah,
because like I've just decided I've tried to start there's no paladin yet. Hopefully there will be, but a barbarian and a druid. and I've gotten to like the level 20 or 30, and I'm like, I just don't want to do this again.
Yeah. Yeah. I get
They're
that.
so fat. They're so slow. It's like when going from 200% movement speed,
Yeah.
rogue, where it's like, oh, I want to go to my stash, then to the trader, then to the blacksmith. It's like, whoop, whoop. As a druid, it's like,
Yeah.
it's everything, let alone going through dungeons.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just
Like-
so painful.
It's like playing BattleBit all day and then swapping to Tarkov. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, BattleBit and then max weight, overweight.
Yeah, Tarkov. You're just like, ugh. Dang.
Yeah,
That's
so-
cool. That's sick.
So there's been some drama though that I in the Diablo world.
Oh yeah.
That I curious to hear like someone outside of the community's
Oh,
take on a few
yes.
of these things. So first of all, there's just a bunch of people who are just like new to ARPGs
Yeah.
that are like, wait, what is this I hear about seasons? You mean in July my character, like if I want to take part in the season, I have to make a new character?
Yeah.
So it's like basically if someone came into Tarkov right now, played for a month, and then was like, "What? There's wipes?
There's
like, what the
wipes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have a problem with this." Like
I
you
didn't know
as-
that's how
as-
it worked. I didn't know that if a new season started, you have to start a new character.
You don't have to. So
Okay.
there's like it's always been like this where there's basically like it used to be ladder and non-ladder.
Okay.
But you have a seasonal character, and then once the season's over, your characters get put in like the eternal realm. You keep all your stuff, but it's like the non-seasonal. So it's almost like there's two different economies. There's
Gotcha. Yep.
But so there's just been like a lot of. There was like one Twitter thread where like some people freaked out, and then of course all the Diablo content creators made videos about it,
Of
which
course.
means everybody that watches all of those videos suddenly is like, this is important now, even though
Yeah.
it's like it was a Twitter thread that nobody would have cared about.
Yep. Oh man. Yep.
But it's like it's so weird that like I'll be playing and maybe a dozen times a day someone will come in and be like, hey man, so like what's your take on this whole season thing? And it's like, yeah, that's just the way it is, dude.
It's just Diablo, man.
What's your take on this whole democracy thing, man? You think we should just like throw that out? I mean, like,
Just real quick, give me your take. Give me your TLDR. What's your take?
What am I supposed to say? Like,
Dude.
I think people just expect. I don't know. Maybe they expect
yeah.
me to be like, yeah, we need to change it. Let's revolt.
Yeah.
Let's get them to like a change.org petition signed
Yep.
or something to have them do away with seasons.
That's
or something. I
super
don't know.
interesting. And that's funny
Um,
because I felt like that's what people liked. I've heard of like season like ladders when people talked about like how like when people used to talk about like when they talked about having Tarkov, a character that wipes and character that doesn't wipe. Like, you know what I mean? People are like, oh yeah, like Path of Exile or like Diablo does ladders and seasons. And so it's just interesting that I guess it makes sense though with a game. Cause when did Diablo 3 come out? It was like a long time ago, right?
10 years ago.
Yeah, so like with in the past 10 years, the meta of like YouTube and guides and stuff has changed quite a bit. So because you have Asmund and Shroud and like everybody playing this game, there's probably a whole lot of people introduced to ARPGs. A lot of people that might be used to games where you grind this one character for all of eternity, right? Like WoW or even like Destiny or whatever. And then you get to a game where like kind of the point is like experiencing new content with a new character or something, and that's just like weird to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like people they want to have their cake and they want to eat it too.
Yeah,
It's like they're not deleting your character. They're not deleting your progress. You can keep playing. It's just that you want to take advantage of the new stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, but the new stuff isn't designed to have started by level 100 characters.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah, that's just been like a funny thing. And then the other bit is, so there are these 6 items in the game that are like the ultra unique, they're rare items.
Interesting.
There's like a couple of swords. One's called the Grandfather. Another one's called, I think, Doombringer. There's a helmet or a hat, I guess, that's called the Harlequin Crest, which was like super iconic item. Goes, I think, all the way back to Diablo 1.
Wow.
it was it was called they called it the Shaco. It was like the Harlequin crest Shaco in Diablo 2, and that was like, it wasn't like the best in slot helmet, but it was like the achievable best in slot.
Okay.
Like you could find like a rare circlet that had like god stats that was like, super rare, super expensive or whatever, but like the kind of like upper middle class, normal players could, they would have the Shaco. It was like +3 to all skills, where like you could only ever get stuff that was like +1 to all skills. Like it was just the best. And it's like all of these items are just like god tier, like very, very good. They're not like game breaking good.
Okay.
Like, so the difference between me, where I have like some of the best end game gear.
Yeah.
And then imagine if someone had all of the best end game gear plus like 1 or 2 of these ultra rare items. I feel like the difference between me and them would be smaller than the difference between me and like the average player.
Gotcha.
By a lot.
Yeah.
But having it, if it was like competitive, like PvP, it would be it would
make a difference. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
But as far as I know, out of these 6 items that are in the game, and out of the millions and millions of people who have played for millions and millions and millions of hours, there's like 2 confirmed drops of any of them. There's like 2 or 3. I think maybe 1 of like the grandfather sword dropped like today. I think it was like 1 person, 2 people, 1 in Korea, someone else in Asia, and 1 person in Russia, and like nobody else.
Whoa.
So, and that's another bit of it too, is so they're not tradable at all.
Oh, so you can't like sell them?
No. So there's only there's this weird. I'm working on a video that explains a lot of this stuff, but there's like 5 tiers of items. There's like normal and magic items. Those are garbage. No one uses them.
Okay.
And there's the rares, which are like the yellow items.
Gotcha.
That are, it's like the backbone of the whole game. Then there's like the legendaries. You can't trade or sell those. If you modify, because you can like enchant and modify items.
Okay.
If you modify them, they're bound to your account. So they're no longer tradable.
Yeah.
And then the uniques, which there's a ton of them. There's dozens of them, but then there's the ultra rare, like 6 of them. None of those are tradable. So really all that's tradable are like the yellow items that can be godly, and they act as like the base of like build.
Interesting.
So they're not tradable.
That's unreal. Because
so the question is like it's like winning the lottery, literally.
Yeah. Because does anybody have like numbers on concurrent player count? Like they have to be, I mean, like they probably pulled down 1 million concurrent players on launch day. Like I know New World did, it was like close to 1 million concurrent players, and Diablo is a much more established brand. Either way, it has to be millions of accounts.
Someone did the math.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people playing at any given time for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of hours.
Someone did some like back of the napkin math, and it was like there was a dev cast where they said like how many hours of the game have been played, and then you can extrapolate like how many people. So they did that, and I forget what the numbers were, but it was like 1 in 800,000 chance or something of like getting. It was along those lines, maybe even more. It might have been like 8 million.
Yeah.
I don't remember. So the question is like, is that good?
Yeah.
And also there's no way to like, as far as we know, there's no way to target farm it. Like,
interesting.
A lot of times, like in Diablo 2, if you wanted this item, the best one you go and you kill Baal 100 times. So like 1,000 times, 10,000 times. If you want to get these key drops, you go do Countess runs. If you want this particular thing, you go kill Shank, like whatever. But as far as I know, these items can be dropped from any mob level 85.
2.8 million players concurrent.
There you go.
Okay. They can drop basically anywhere.
As long as when you kill the minion is level 85 or higher. So from 85 to 100. They can go over 100.
Oh, okay.
The minions can go upwards of like 150, I think.
That
And, well, not minions, but like any of
yeah,
the
yeah.
enemy
So
characters.
on an enemy over 85 level. Interesting. So not farmable and roughly 1 in a million chance of getting it. That's I mean, like, so on one hand, that's cool, but like I feel like that's cooler for something that doesn't contribute to gameplay. Like it'd be cooler for like a cosmetic to drop that, you know what I mean? That like a skin that can be applied, almost like a transmog or something that can be applied to whatever gear you have, and you're like, that guy, holy cow. You know what I mean? But if it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm torn.
Oh, yeah, I wonder what they look like on your character. They better look sick.
Yeah.
I haven't seen what any of the items look like because I've been transmogged since like level 30 and I haven't changed it.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Like, I don't know. To me,
I'm conflicted. That just, it seems crazy.
The way that I like look at it is the difference between it being in the game and being really rare and it not being in the game at all functionally is like no difference to me. But what if I get it?
Yeah, exactly. It's
I say that not thinking I'm going to get it, but like for the person that gets it, actually having a gameplay implication, that just honestly, that just makes it that much cooler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm conflicted because like, yeah, it's because that feeling would be pretty remarkable to like find it.
And if I had that item and I went against people in PvP, I'd still die to so many people who were better than me.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to auto make me win.
Yeah.
I mean, choosing Barbarian is basically the auto make you win at this point, but we're not going to get into that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Interesting. That is, I mean, that is rare. That is like, I don't know that I've ever even heard of a video game item being that rare. That's crazy. And there's 6 of them.
There's
6 items?
6 of them. There's been, so there's been 2 Shakos that have dropped. One in Russia, one in Korea, and then today one of the swords.
One of the swords dropped.
I guess. And I don't know what confirmed even means.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're streamers or what.
That's wild. I mean, it's like I guess my question would be like, and this is just like an arbitrary number I'm making up. How much of the good feeling that the people that get it, how much of that feeling is sacrificed if it's the rarity is like doubled or tripled? Like 1 in 200,000 chance doesn't diminish that much of that feeling because it's still unbelievable, but more people I mean, that just it seems like there's a point of diminishing returns of achieving that, like, oh my God, you found the once in a lifetime. 99.9% of characters won't find this. It feels like we're just going more nines. 99.9999999%.
Yeah, keep moving the goalposts.
Exactly. So it's like, I love the concept of like omega ultra rare, like almost every single person that ever plays this game won't get it. But it's like that seems just like truly win the lottery level. Like,
I want to know. Well, so there's also a few assumptions there. It's entirely possible that some people have had those items drop. They just aren't plugged in. They just aren't plugged into the Twitter, Twitch, YouTube universe.
Very true.
And they don't even know they won the lottery.
True. That's
how many people have bought a lotto ticket and then like it ended up it went through the wash in their jeans and they just never, but some people are saying like, maybe it should be like a 10% drop from Uber Lilith, or something like that. But now there's arguments to be made around that I would argue against it, because first of all, there are plenty of ways to cheese killing Uber Lilith.
Yeah.
There are like, I was watching a video and it's not even like cheese, but because it's like using seemingly intended game mechanics, but like there was this one guy who was sitting there as a sorcerer, just like casting Blizzard on Lilith, and like the damage was like not happening much. Like there just wasn't much going on. And I think he was like building up stagger or something using some of the mechanics. You just see one of these little bars that's like a stagger bar. because you can't like knock them down or stun bosses.
Yeah.
But you can like build up a stagger bar, and then once it fills, then they get staggered for a period of time. So he's doing that. Nothing's happening. And all of a sudden, he opens up his inventory and he switches his pants and his armor and his helmet. And then she gets staggered, and then the health bar goes. It's just gone. You know, and it's like, well, he just bypassed 20 minutes of mechanics.
Yeah.
And so, and that was just like a stagger-based build where, you know, when you have numbers that are in the millions and you have things that are multipliers of multipliers of multipliers.
Yeah,
it takes is one more multiplier to add another order of magnitude onto the thing.
Yeah,
you know,
which is that's interesting. I agree. Even just like it's the concept of like having some things that aren't farmable, like go here, do this thing. Like obviously that's a huge part of the game, and you want most of it to be, but like it's fun to have things that aren't as well.
Yeah, I mean, like there are already things like if you want to get, if you can find like an 820 item power ring that has a max roll on critical strike chance, critical strike damage, you know, attack speed, and like lucky hit chance. Those kind of arbitrary there.
Yeah.
That is like probably a 1 in a million. Actually, no, probably way rarer than 1 in a million.
Interesting.
Because if I pick up probably 100 rings in a day.
Yeah,
there's millions of people playing, and I don't think I'll never see that ring. So there's plenty of items that are already
1 in a million. Yeah,
hyper rare. They're just not capital letter named. With fancy lore text around them.
That's an interesting point. Where like any of the god tier items are probably somewhere nearly as rare. It's just that like that one item, like when you're building a build, you're lining up an item like, you know, I'm looking for between 31 and 33% chance of this. So like that's 3 different items that could fit that role. Whereas like these items are just like one, you know, imagine like the loot pool, the Excel spreadsheet, just scrolling and then just picking one out, as opposed to a range of items that you're looking for. So they're therefore, you know, less rare or whatever. That's
I mean, you should see, I just spent a bunch of time looking into this, which is one of the things I'm covering for my video, but like you should see how the items are generated. It's like this whole multi-step process where it's like, it's a ring. Okay. Well, rings can have these 85 affixes on them, like bullet point line items. The ones that we're looking at are going to have 4. So it's like, oh, and then there's also class specific ring affixes where it's like mages will get, you know, like mana regeneration on rings. So then there's like, add those into the pool of 85. And then what it does is the item power is just a number that's effectively a random roll between like, let's say 600 and 850 or whatever. Okay. And then from that number, you start with that number, you just choose randomly 4 affixes from the pool of, you know, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens. You know, there's like critical hit chance for injured, critical hit chance versus healthy, critical hit chance versus elites, damage versus elites, poison damage versus elites, poison damage reduction, like all of these things. That's right? Insane. Most of them are garbage. There's really only like 4 you want. So those 4 get chosen. And then based on that number that I talked about, that will determine what the range is.
Oh, okay.
Because every affix has an associated range per item level. So it'll be, there's one that's like plus all skills.
Yeah.
If it's item power 100, it's going to be 1. It's only 1.
Yeah.
If it's 250, it'll be 1 to 2. If it's 350, it'll be 2 to 4. If it's 450, it'll be 3 to 6. So there's some overlap where it's like the high end of the lower one.
So you could get an item with a lower item power that's better than an item with a higher item power, because the lower item power one
maybe
could have procced at the highest part of the range, and the higher one could have procced at the lower. And if there's overlap, XYZ.
And that's 1 of 4 stats.
So every piece of loot is 1 in a million in that game. Like that's crazy.
And then between the range, then there's just a random roll there. So it's like,
Damn.
I don't know, man.
That's
So
insane.
I love it because anybody who finds it, like the cool part is anybody who finds it, it's like I almost said life changing. It's not life changing, but like actually, honestly, for me, if I found the Shaco tomorrow, instantly that's like 500 average concurrent viewers every day.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one guy who has it. You want to see the gameplay? There's nobody that's got it.
It is kind of life changing, yeah.
So, like you'd probably the next person that finds the grandfather sword is gonna like Polygon's gonna interview them in an article. You know what I mean? It's like whenever you make it more more common than that, it loses that.
I get that. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's like everybody's got the tracksuit. It's no one. I see a tracksuit and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Hey,
so,
that makes sense. That's good. That's cool. That's super interesting.
So enough about Diablo.
Damn.
That's just a couple things I want.
I love it. I love it. That's fascinating. We had some interesting Tarkov. It's been a week.
D4 drama. Now we've got Tarkov drama.
It's been a week in Tarkov, bro. Let me tell you. So there's been Tarkov happenings, and then there's been proper Tarkov drama. So I mean, I guess we'll start with that because that's get out of the way. That's what people are gonna want to hear about. So there was a lot of stuff pointed directly at data mining and data mining in general, and specifically, logical.
Like, can we just straight up say, like, everybody that's been talking about data mining, this is a logical solutions problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we'll get to what I think, or whatever, but like nobody else matters or cares, right? Like, has Nikita or anybody been talking about data mining as if it's a problem, or it's really just logical, right?
I mean, I think so. I don't really know. That's what I assumed as well. I haven't seen
our podcast
anybody
when we were in TwitchCon.
Yeah, when we were in TwitchCon, yeah. And that's the thing is like that was the big thing that I was talking about with chat was like you have to kind of separate like this is a happening, but he's also a human being. Like I talked about, I was like, we talked to him at TwitchCon. We hung out with him. He's like a really cool dude. You know what I mean?
Super nice guy.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah. So, I mean, we'll go through it. So like it started with Nikita tweeting out a screenshot of a Discord message.
I can't believe it, dude. Honestly, that to me is the most buck wild thing.
For sure. I agree. We're basically logical. And he, I mean, it's a screenshot, but he admitted to it and apologized for it, which we'll get to as well. But he basically said, if there's anybody with ETS access, which is the early test servers, which if you don't know is a place where Tarkov tests new features before they've come out. If you're a part of the ETS, you're a part of the ETS because you signed a non-disclosure agreement saying you wouldn't talk about it, you wouldn't tweet about it, you wouldn't tell anybody about it. You signed an NDA if you're in the ETS. And Logical was asking if anybody who was in the ETS would like to break that NDA and give him some information. And then it ended with, and to the rat who's reporting things to BSG, and it was a middle finger emoji. So that was
and so
that was a wolf and a half there.
Nikita's tweet, it had a screenshot of that, and it was like, what do I do?
He said he said it goes beyond all limits. What should I do with him?
Yeah, that's what's the wildest thing. Like I think maybe he meant to send that to their internal Telegram channel and accidentally tweeted it.
That was wild. That was
because like I can't fathom.
That was wild. Yeah, man.
Like someone in Nikita's position basically publicly saying this guy is getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
What? Hey, public. What do I do about this dude who's a member of the community?
Yeah.
What the do I do about him? And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Imagine if like President Joe Biden tweets out like, how can I? Hey guys, any way I could get rid of Trump?
Yeah.
Like, does anybody know a guy with a gun emoji? You know what I mean? Like that's as buck wild to me as what Nikita did. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I also think, like, here's what's really hard for, like, Twitter, right? The Twitter sphere to understand is there's very obviously, and here's, if you really want to get, if you want to really get into the weeds of it, here's why that tweet by Nikita is a little problematic, is because there's obviously context here. Nikita and BSG have made jabs on podcasts about they hate the data mining and how they hate things are you know, no one's surprised. They've very obviously been like, and here's another thing, by the way, we talked about this a little bit. I don't think we necessarily need to get down into the weeds, but we've talked about this before, where like people have told you many times, like, well, Nikita, like they've told you, Nikita let you get access to the server so you could get information for Battle Buddy, right? You know what I mean? Like they're telling you, like, you data mine too. So there's so many layers. There's a base layer.
Let's make sure we caveat that with that never happened.
That's not true.
I've never data mined anything. I don't have access to servers.
That's not true. So we have multiple layers here. We have layer 1, which is no one knows what data mining is. Gun to my head, I can't give you that accurate of a description of what it is. You obviously would, but nobody on Twitter knows what data mining is, right? Really what it is and what's involved in it. There's another layer here, which is there's history between Logical and Nikita. I'm pretty sure that they've talked before. I'm pretty sure that Logical's reached out to them asking for things like, hey, can you help me with this information? I'm pretty sure they've made it clear that they don't like the data mining. He continues to do it.
He's been banned from their all of the official
their
Tarkov.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from the ETS as well and from the Tarkov stuff. So there's things that the Twitter sphere can't get a hold of, which is like nobody really knows what the hell data mining is, and nobody knows the context and the history of conversations or happenings between Logical and that. But what we do know is that that's pretty, I mean, like, I could ask my chat, you know what I mean? Like, hey, DM me. I don't know that I would it's necessarily against the rules, but it was a very blatant, just like, this is like a scummy thing to do, to like ask a Discord of presumably thousands of people to give you that information, and not just like data mining the game, but also like specifically NDA'd information. So that was how it started.
Whether you agree if it was scummy or not, it definitely wasn't very bright. I mean, because you're putting the Logical at that point was putting his trust in however many thousands of people that nobody would do exactly that, which is like screenshot it and tweet it, right? You know what I mean? I'm gonna tweet out, does anyone know how to hide a body?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you think that's not gonna come back,
especially when you're addressing the rat. So it's like, someone's telling on you, and then you're still saying, where do I hide the body? So that was interesting. Then very quickly after that, a few hours later, BSG Tarkov tweeted out the official statement from Battlestate Games on the illegal data mining of information, and they understand it. They kind of laid out the where in the terms of service they say that you can't do that, why they don't like it, understanding the difference between leaks and a teaser, and then the most important thing is the most important things were two things. Was one, them saying starting now we will take action against accounts, so drawing a line in the sand, and then two, saying that like there's an official resource supported by Battlestate Games, which is the wiki, which may not be updated as frequently and on time, but it does not use any illegal tools. And then additionally, we will continue to work in the direction of transparency to share the information. So I don't know. I mean, lots of interesting thoughts there. When they there's so much. They have definitely done a better job this year at like tweeting changes and updates to quests and updates to rewards and the prices of gear and those things, which is a lot of stuff. However, I still don't think that they've been doing a better job long enough to really come out and draw the real hard line in the sand. You know what I mean? It's like, I know some people are like, but what if they're about to do some cool stuff with like Arena and they really don't want to data mine? It's like, Yeah, okay, but we can still go backwards, right? It's not like just in 2023 the community has been asking them to be more transparent. The community's been asking them to be more transparent since 2017. And so I would have loved a longer lead up time of them doing this stuff so that the line drawing in the sand was like, "Oh yeah, whatever." You know what I mean? Like they could have if they had thought about it earlier, boxed out Logical by basically the only things he was providing were the things that were really just spoilery because the BSG was providing the other stuff. You know what I mean? And then they could have done it, but they didn't. So the statement came off just interesting timing. I really think that Nikita's tweet really just like it set a tone for everything that was about to happen, right? Like it really set a tone. So
I see. I have a couple of things.
yeah. Hit me with it.
First of all, like, first and foremost, let's not pretend that Logical isn't coming away benefiting massively from this. There's no way.
Oh yeah, it's like
if
when
there's
people
a
get
graph
banned
with his follower number and his viewership numbers.
Yeah.
If there's a graph, I'll bet you a nickel that the line has gone up ever since this whole thing happened.
Yeah.
It's just more like
Yeah.
more exposure, more attention.
For sure.
Not to mention the fact that, because he got banned and then unbanned, that's like,
Oh yeah.
Jesus nailed to the cross.
Yeah, and then rising again on the third
and then
day.
rising again, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like I even said this a couple of days ago on stream where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pay Nikita to like have some sort of drama with me.
Yeah.
And then we'll squash it and everything will be fine because I'll just come out on top.
People have asked me before, like whenever the cheaters or false bans come up, that they're like, have you considered like how much that would affect your career? Like if you got falsely banned, I'm like, oh yeah, it would be the best thing ever. Like,
yeah.
It's
as long as you got unbanned.
Yeah.
But even then, you know how many people have been like banned and then like just make another account and then keep like streaming or whatever. And yeah, so that's one part of it.
Yeah.
Because usually what happens is you have a ton of people that see this and they're like, oh my God, justice for Logical, right? It's like,
yeah,
he won here. Like he's winning. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's the same that happens when actually, I mean, we just talked about this when people get false banned, right? Or like when everybody's like, oh my god, such and such got falsely banned or whatever, and it's like when they get unbanned, that's like hitting the jackpot.
Yeah, and even when they're banned, they just sit in the Tarkov category and watch YouTube videos to like 2,000 viewers, right? Because everyone's asking them about them getting banned.
Yeah.
Which obviously I'm not blaming them. I just said I would do the same thing. I'm not like, if you're falsely banned, that means you were banned and falsely, and I'm not accusing anyone of. I would do the same thing. I would just sit and watch freaking YouTube videos and like farm the drama.
It was like the same thing happened when that random guy like DMCA hit pestily for like 12 days of Tarkov.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody was acting like it was this amazingly massive travesty.
Yeah.
When it was clear from day one, just solely based on the number of people coming in saying this guy and donating money and whatever, like if he could go back in time and choose the path where it gets DMCA'd and it's down for 5 days and then comes back up, or the other path, he would take the one where it gets DMCA'd.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like this whole, oh goodness gracious, you know, that's so, you know, like, oh Jesse, you had to reset your account. Oh my God. It's like, well, yeah, you get a benefit from those kinds of things. Now, actually, that's different. But
no, but
at the
I
same
see what
time,
you mean.
it's like people need to recognize that that costs for public figures when notoriety and popularity and like drama are involved are not the same costs that you would might expect. So that's one
for sure.
The second one is the more important thing to me. We might as well just cut to it and talk about what nobody's talking about and what nobody will say and what nobody's going to say, which is the fact that there's kind of always been a totally unstated under the covers, behind the curtains, sort of pseudo agreement between some folks
Mm.
and some forms of data mining and some forms of like how do I put this? To say that you know, that there's no illegal tools that were used to get information for the wiki.
Yeah.
Well, Nikita's the one that gets to determine what's illegal and quote unquote illegal, right? When he says illegal, what he means is against his terms of service. It doesn't mean like legally.
Yeah. Yes. And like Logical pointed out that a ton of his information is on the wiki.
Yeah. And then like, where do you think the ammo charts came from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, you know, like, so how do you think all of those, but the thing is that those are all things that could easily be seen as quote unquote against the rules, as illegal.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, folks like me or like NoFam or like people from the wiki are actually in contact having these little conversations where it's like, if I go and I tell Nikita that I'm working on such and such a thing and the data's coming from here and here, and he goes, oh, okay, cool, let me know how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you've given me permission at that point, right? Like,
yeah.
So if at no point he went to any of the people, there's also been people who have gone and done like, hey, I went through and I modded all of the optics in the game and fixed them. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
That's basically like data mining, modding, and hacking the game.
Yeah.
But for like useful purposes, right? And Nikita at no point was like, what do I do with these people? Like, he's like, oh, this is interesting. How do, you know, give me more information. Yeah. So there's this whole unstated thing
for sure
that really at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that he didn't like Logical and or what he was doing with the data. Now, I don't necessarily blame him for not liking what he was doing with the data because what it was essentially doing was like flaunting. He flew too close to the sun.
And dude,
like NoFam, he, you know, historically basically data mined the, you know, the
ammo charts,
the ammo information, and then put it up, and then like never talked about how he got it, never talked about where he got it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is that like the whole thing is gray area. The whole thing is gray. And that's the reality. And the reality here is, and that people don't, it happened immediately. It happened immediately. You were either Team BSG and Logical broke TOS, man. He broke TOS. He should be sent to jail. Or you were free Logical. BSG sucks immediately. And it was that. And the reality is, they both suck. Okay? And it's all gray area. BSG is very obviously like is not good, and as we've said, this is not a new opinion. You know what I mean? That they don't show the player much of anything in the game, much of things that are required to know to be good at the game. They don't show you, right? And we have relied on the wiki and guys like NoFam and people who probably have data mined things. But also, in my opinion, just speaking for myself here, it also objectively sucks to be asking people to break their NDA so that you can tweet information or whatever and get the clout for it, right? So that's my hot take, is they both suck and it's gray area. And you're absolutely right. There have been, you know...
It's the Eroctic situation at a different level all over again.
You're absolutely right about that, yeah.
PSG, idiots. Eroctic was an idiot.
Yeah.
They both up.
Yeah. And the reality is that like, and that's an important thing because that helps give Logical a little bit of a leg to spin down too, is that there's absolutely been these conversations. And that's why I said there's a layer to this that even I don't understand, which is context. How many has Nikita personally asked Logical to stop? Maybe that would add, you know, to this. Like, there's a lot of information I'm just never going to know. Have they ever communicated before? Has Logical ever gotten that pseudo permission for other things? And then maybe Nikita's backing out on that and being like, well, no, you took it too far. Maybe Nikita has told him to stop on multiple occasions. And maybe Nikita and BSG are actually airtight on that. We'll never know that. So I don't want to assume one thing or another either way. But what we can see and what we have seen is that the wiki and the ammo charts and a bunch of stuff has happened before. But like you said, he flew too close to the sun, in my opinion. And once again, once again, dude, I hung out with Logical. He hangs out in chat sometimes. I've talked to him. He's a cool dude. I'd say this to his face. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick. Is that it just felt like his existence was like pushing the limit, was getting closer, getting closer in this gray area. And it was probably a combination of Nikita and BSG getting annoyed and frustrated. And maybe there was conversations happening behind the scene, but it wasn't, you're exactly right. No fam. He did the thing. He said here, he sat it down, and he's not tweeting every day about it. It's just there. It benefited the community. He has his website.
And I worked with NoFam under the covers, behind the scenes. I didn't data mine anything, right? Yeah. But I worked with him. He helped me with Battle Buddy, which is why me and him are like the only two people who know. But it's also why I haven't shown the formulas to anybody.
Exactly.
Can you imagine the views I would get if I could show the formulas? I've shown some screenshots of little snippets here and there to people privately.
Yeah.
But I thought I did what I thought was the right ethical decision, which was not to try to get exposure and clout and whatever from these things that could all, because I was worried that then it would over NoFam, which would then over the community.
Yeah, because he was providing
like,
something.
Don't push the envelope, right? If you want to provide a benefit, provide it and just be subtle about it.
100%.
Show the information. Don't be like, hey guys, here's the Git diff that shows all of the file change names and all of the other stuff. And here, like, it's like, oh my God, bro, what are you doing? Like, you're going to ruin it for the rest of us who want to help.
So it's like to say just black and white, oh, Logical broke 2S, he should be banned. That doesn't tell the whole story, like you said, because there's these gray areas, because there's these other things. Like it doesn't, and it's unfair to him to just say, well, he did this, that, because it's like, okay, the reality is, but also on the flip side, it felt like it was just like pushing and pushing and pushing. And so I don't know.
The whole thing was a cluster, and everybody was
the whole thing. And I said that immediately, bro. I said that immediately. I was like, this tweet feels really out of pocket from Nikita. I was like, BSG has traditionally been not good at this. A lot of the information that's been data mined over the course of the history by multiple people has been incredibly valuable to the new player, has been incredibly valuable to really everybody, has been stuff that BSG should have told us, a bunch of the information. But on the flip side, things like asking people for ETS information is just like, I don't know. So it's like from the very beginning, I was like, this whole thing is scuffed and I don't know enough about anything that's happening. So like when, you said in the Diablo, people are like, what's your take on this drama? When people are like, what's your take on the Logical thing? Dude,
it's the Michael Jackson gift.
I don't know, bro. Yeah, 100%. It's like, dude, I don't know. I don't have enough information to have a take, really. And if I did, I don't understand. Like I said, I still don't even understand what data mining really is or how it happens or what's against the rules and what isn't. So I just don't know. I was like, listen, I'm just going to let this play out and I'm just going to let it rip. And really, I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so and Logical just popped in a chat and he said, so for what it's worth, if you guys care, I've never gotten a response. Maybe we'll have to get him on or something to talk about this. He said, I've never gotten a response ever from BSG after several attempts. They've never attempted to reach out to me or my team either. That's all I'll add to this. So assuming that's true, I have no reason to think that he's lying.
Yeah.
It seems kind of it adds more absurdity to Nikita's original tweet because it's like, what am I supposed to do? It's like, well, did you think about talking to him about it? But here's the thing. I just don't think BSG likes him.
Yeah, I mean that could be
like BSG. Well, no, when I say I don't think, like I know that BSG doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Because of all of this stuff, right? They have whatever animosity towards him that they have. I don't want to get in the middle of it. I don't really give a. It's just so.
But that's why I was saying, like, context, it means so much. Like, once again, not knowing if they've communicated with him, not knowing what his communication is with them, and then for it to go so public, like, that's why, like, of course, as like a human being, as a human being in 2023 that is addicted to drama, I was like, oh, spill the tea, Nikita, like, do it. But immediately I was like, dude, this just feels weird because I have to assume, okay, not most people won't, but I, as a rational adult, has to assume that there's more context here that I don't get. And so when we're putting something like that up, it's just like inviting the salacious opinions and the this, that, and the other, you know what I mean? And so like, I don't know. Dude, once again, I was like, I don't know, man. I just don't.
But see, like,
know.
here's the thing, because they probably figured, like, what, there's the question of, well, why did they reach out to him? Because they probably figured that they would say stop, and he would say no. It's probably my assumption is what their assumption was. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have enough respect to even have the conversation with them. I don't know. They don't answer my calls anymore either, right?
Yeah.
Like the last few times I messaged them, Nikita never got back to me, right? Yeah. So is it a personal thing? Is he just busy? Whatever. Now, Nikita never went and tweeted about me. We'd be having a different conversation.
Yeah. And it's hard because you can't hold the entirety of BSG and everybody else that works there responsible for when Nikita tweeting on his personal thing, but it absolutely reflects on BSG when he does do stuff like that. So it was all such a cluster, and it happened so fast. And I truly don't even know. I'm really not going to speak about things I don't know. I know that the day after they put that post out, Logical went live. He did some just chatting. He was talking. As I understand it, he was like showing some of the older information that he had pulled up and data mined. Then he got banned. I don't know if that was like somebody trigger happy from BSG because they saw him like looking through information on the stream and they banned him. And then he was like, that's not new information, which once again, to me, just felt like, why are you even doing that? Like, why are we even pulling up the logs and all the information and all the back end stuff, even if it's older information? Like, that just felt...
Flying too close to the sun.
I don't know. But once again, I don't know. I was not in his stream. I don't know what happened. I haven't watched the VOD. I'm not saying that he was like, whatever. I mean, he obviously wasn't data mining on stream because they unbanned him, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like the next day or something like that. So I don't know.
It's a show.
It was.
And everybody relevant, all of the parties were to some extent at fault.
Yeah.
I don't think we don't know the extents, but all I can say is I don't think that there's any real victims here. Or everybody's the victim, right? Depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Logical kind of put out a statement and saying, I agree that I was in the wrong in the post I made in the Discord involving the ETS. It was not something I should have done. And then he said, thankful that Nikita and BSG are potentially mending our relationship and look forward to hopefully working with the BSG team moving forward to provide better community feedback. Once again, you got to take that with a grain of salt, but it was good that he got unbanned and that they were talking about it. And and I don't know if those conversations were with Nikita. I don't know if they were. I mean, he posted a screenshot of DMs with Nikita, so I know he was talking to Nikita. But yeah, man, I don't know. It just felt, the whole thing felt weird. And what's frustrating is that the whole thing felt like it felt like it undid more than it did. You know what I mean? Just like
no, everybody, we're all gonna forget about it. This is literally what it did. A month from now, where we're at. What we could have done if we could rewind was increase Logical Solutions' viewership and popularity in the community by 15%. And then now we have one more story to tell in the lore of the history of Tarkov.
Yeah, I just mean
that's it. There's nothing that's going to come from this other than that.
No, I agree. I mean, from the BSG side, it was it doesn't work this way, but let's say that the community trust in them was at a 0. And these past 6 months when they've been posting all this stuff and tweeting better and doing this stuff, they built it to a 10. It felt like this whole situation just brought it back to a 2. It felt like they had been working hard at being more transparent. And the way this happened and how quick it was, Nikita's really personal tweets, Logical tweeting a bunch as well, then the statement on data mining, and then he was banned and then he was unbanned. And the confusion about what data mining is, the people who only really interact with the people that only interact with Logical not too much and just see some of the really important information he data mines were like coming to his defense, being like, yo, like, what is this? This is crazy. Like, logical, like, unban him right now. And then it's just like all this stuff. It just felt like it muddied the waters and just made everything like, it just like undid what they had been doing, which was like trying to be more transparent. And it sucks because I don't know. But once again, I'm not saying it sucks like woe is BSG. I'm saying they keep shooting themselves in the foot. They are the ones that keep doing this stuff. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm glad the subathon ended the day this all happened. And I was so glad I wasn't streaming. Because
everyone would have come in. What do you think about all the drama?
So glad I wasn't streaming because like, yeah. And once again, dude, it's like, it's gray on both sides, but there's definitely black and white weird stuff. I personally think the whole thing with the ETS was just like super scuffed and super wrong of logical, but I also think Nikita's tweet was weirdly personal and unnecessary and immediately painted like it
made him look bad.
Yeah, they could have like, imagine this universe, right? No Nikita tweet, statement from BSG, right? And then no insta trigger happy ban, statement from BSG, and you let it marinate and you watch, logical like a hawk and you put people on it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things where like,
no, don't do any of that. No statement. You reach out to him and say, hey, can you please stop?
Yeah, of course.
He either answers with like, no, off, in which case then you make the tweet.
Yes.
And then now Nikita looks like you're completely in the right.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. That's the point I was trying to make was like with this kind of stuff, you don't want to jump the gun when you feel like you have just enough evidence. With 700,000 Twitter followers or whatever it is, you want to come not being able to hold all of the stuff that makes you look like you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So it was like you do the statement and then you wait and you don't ban anyone and you just like gather information. And you're absolutely right. Once again, it's hard to know for sure, but you're absolutely right. The first thing to do as a human being is just reach out to him personally and privately and say, will you please stop doing this? You know what I mean? But it's just like this whole thing changes, especially if as they're continuing to post changes on Twitter and they're doing better, like this whole thing could have been reframed to make them look really good and really strong and being like, and like you said, it could have all even just been settled privately and no, it didn't have to be a thing. So it's just like the fact that it was a thing was more frustrating to me than anything that happened. Was just the fact that it had to be a thing and it had to be all over Twitter and social media, which is just such the wrong place to have that. You know what I mean? Like, because people are going to pick sides, man. You know it. And it's like, true, like the earth is round.
The sky is basketball.
The sky is basketball. And people on Twitter will take sides based on absolutely no information. It's like these things are true. As true as gravity. And so it's just like, why not? Well, just why? Why did it have to be a thing? That was my thing, was just like, why does it even have to be a thing?
Like, forgot what I was going to say. That was anticlimactic.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Oh, now I know. I know what I was going to say.
Okay.
The whole idea that like BSG has, like they've been trending upwards, right, in their approach to things and whatever. That narrative, that story that you're telling it's compelling if you think they're actually conscious of or trying to improve and or getting better.
I truly believe
we're
that,
getting
though.
better. I don't think they are.
I understand that. I really do.
Like this is like I think that it's like when you don't change, but you like, I'm picturing like the sitcom couple, right?
Yeah.
Where there's like the husband that just like does the thing over and over again. He like, never shows up for the kids' basketball game or whatever. And they're like, there's this big falling out and they're like, you got to do something about it. And they're like, all right, I'm going to change. And then they come to 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
And then they stop coming. And then the whole thing happens again. And they come to 1 or 2 games and they stop coming. Eventually it's like, that's just who they are.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that, like, whether it's from a top-down thing, whether it's a cultural Russian thing,
Yeah.
whether it's a BSG internal software development company cultural thing, I just think that they do the things that they like, the way that they do it, and
I can
it's
understand
not the way I would do it, or I like that they do it.
I really can understand that perspective and respect it, and fully admit that I could be wrong. And I'm not trying to like leak any DMs or do anything, but like I do truly believe that they're trying to get a handle on it, and they're trying to be better, and I think it's like, it's one of those things where, like, you know, you can you can lead a horse to water. It's like they want to, I believe they want to be better, but I do believe sometimes they still don't understand what that means. And so I think they're fumbling around does that make sense? They're fumbling around, you know what I mean? Like with a lot of the events we've talked about, where it's like the events, like parts of these events are so much closer to the types of events we've said we've always wanted. But then there's always like one thing where you're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So it's like, I still don't think they know, but I genuinely in my heart do believe that they are trying to be better. And I'm trying to, like, once again, it's so hard to separate BSG from Nikita, especially when Nikita tweets stuff like that. You know what I mean? An hour before the official BSG Twitter is going to tweet something else similar. You know what I mean? It's really hard to separate them. But like, I think there's a lot of people at BSG that genuinely do want to be better. And I don't know what the inner workings of BSG is like. And before you freaking comment on the video, that doesn't mean that I support every decision they've ever made. It doesn't mean that I think they're hitting home runs. But I really do believe that they're trying to get better at some things. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just a cluster. I mean, this whole conversation was going to be a cluster from the beginning, no matter what, right? Like, we're going to have the comments that, like, people wanted, like, there's going to be comments of people who really just wanted us to just absolutely shit on BSG and be like, yo, Logical was the best. He's never done anything wrong. Free him. And there's going to be people who will listen to the podcast that were waiting for us to be like, that guy's a piece of human garbage and he deserves to be removed from the community. And I knew that we were going to agree on 99% of this, which is the reality is both of them messed up. Both of them were living in the gray area. And the real problem here is, why did this have to be a public facing issue? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so.
And I want to use this as an opportunity real quick, just to emphasize something that we never like talk about, but like, so I had never spoken to Logical at all before TwitchCon.
Yeah.
I didn't actually even know what he looked like. I'd never been to his stream. I don't even know if he streamed with like a camera. I don't never knew. I just knew of his name, and a random people just talking about him in various contexts. So you get like an idea in your head about like somebody, you know, you just manufacture this.
For sure,
whatever.
right? If you read about enough tweets, you think you have an understanding of how someone is, And
then once you realize like you're a human being sitting on a couch next to another human being,
for sure,
it's like, it's hard to give a about any of that stuff. Like I hate to say, but like Tarkov, I bet you if me, you, Logical, and Nikita we're in this room right now, with pizza and beer, we'd probably have a blast.
I really agree with that. I really agree with that. And that's why it's so weird. Because it's like, we just like live in such a weird time where like, I'll say hard and fast that I think Logical asking people to give him ETS info is like bunk. Like, I think that's an awful thing to do. People are going to get really mad at me for saying that, but I would say that's Logical, and he would probably be like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I got caught up in, and then we would just immediately move on and like and talk and continue. You know what I mean? So it's like a conversation we would have with each other gets intercepted in the middle by so many other people interpreting it so many different ways. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, this is all just like an elaborate way of me trying to say, not even just in the context of this story, but just in general. Like, remember the human.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that what we do, I don't know if you experience this at all, but I'll bite the bullet and admit that sitting in front of the camera and playing games all day long has 100% like changed my brain chemistry.
Yeah, for sure.
In a way that I actually don't really like, because it's really hard to see and remember the human.
Yeah.
When all you see are colored usernames.
Yeah.
Scrolling by, it really genuinely is. And it's like it's for sure different than when I had 2 viewers and I was first starting and you see somebody in chat. The way that like it felt and the interaction and all that, you just get so numb and beaten down by all the trolls and all this other and all the anonymity and all of the just the internet that we've been talking about recently. It's just such like a mess that it's genuinely hard.
It is
to remember the human.
Twitch chat becomes the BattleBit people, just like the blocks. They're like they're not humans anymore. They're just a bunch of little.
They're a bunch of voices, even in like Call of Duty, that are just people talking and memeing in menus and whatever, and you forget that they're humans. And we streamers forget that chatters and commenters are human beings, and especially the chatters and the commenters forget that we're human beings. And it's just
weird.
It's you know what I thought about the other day, and this is meaningless and don't read into it or anything like that, but like I genuinely was like, this whole internet thing is so part of me wants to like, for a moment I considered like, yo, I think like the most badass thing to do would be to just walk away and say, yo, social media and all of this stuff is really, especially with like live streaming and YouTube, is really in ways that are way more complicated and nuanced than any one person can really understand.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do anything about it is by freeing myself from the chains and just like trying to, undo I've been locked in this basement my entire life, and I've forgotten what it's like to see sunlight, and I mean that metaphorically and like literally, but like, like the people who from age 7 are like held captive as like slaves in a basement, and then that's like, it changes who you are, and you like don't know how to interact with people anymore. And like, that's what the internet is doing to all of us, especially streamers.
Yeah.
That was just a whole rant to say like things are.
Yeah.
And everybody just needs to be more cognizant and more empathetic. And
for sure. Empathy doesn't get you anything on Twitter, but it gets you a whole lot in your mental health. Like it really, really does. It really, really does. We were talking, I don't remember. I was talking to Valian, and we were talking about like somebody, he had read some like funny, hilarious, really rude TikTok comments or YouTube comments or something. And he was just like, dude, it's crazy that he's like, man, everybody's so negative. And we were talking, and I was like, something that I'm trying to do is like, when I get to the point where I'm starting sentences with all-encompassing words like everybody and always, that's a cue I need to take a break from social media, because that's not true. You know what I mean? Like somebody, and we were talking about that in chat. Somebody was like, dude, everyone in the Tarkov community is so negative because some douchebag in chat, right? And I was like, dude, there's 700 people here. We were vibing for hours. This dude came in, and this dude sucks. This guy sucks. We all agree he sucks. But then the response was like, everyone in the community is so negative. It's like, man, what do you mean? Like we were vibing for a few hours. We basically all agreed that guy sucked. 3 people agreed with him. They all left too. And then what we take away from that is everyone, always. People are always, everybody's like this. And I'm trying to make that a cue for me to like take a break, because then you start interacting with real people and real humans and start to just like remember that it's not everybody. And that doesn't, we've talked a bunch in the past about how like that doesn't make those douchebags any less either hurtful or impactful. Like 3 douchebags can really derail a chat of up to 1,000 people. Like it can happen really quickly. You know what I mean? But
You're telling me.
But it's not everybody. You know what I mean? It's not always. It's
and
so
that's the
scuffed.
nature of social media and all of the.
It is.
It's because there are so many individuals. You can never have a conversation about anything without someone saying, "Well, yeah, but I'm different," or this is different, or this is the edge case, or this is. So you just lump everybody in because there's no point in, you can't focus on every individual. So you have to put people in groups. Oh, the Republicans are this, or streamers are this, or Tarkov players are this.
So true, dude.
It's like a shortcut, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is a little tiny element, a tiny snippet of why this is so bad for all of us.
Yeah,
because it's like, it boils down life and human interaction and all this stuff into these weird, like, it's like we're in an aquarium and you're just walking by seeing all of these snippets of things in tanks, and you forget that there's like, these animals are supposed to be in the wilderness, in the water, in the trees, like it's so weird and unnatural. And
dude, it's wild. It is wild. But we carry on. I don't know. But that's that. So that was the whole thing. That was the whole drama with Logical and with the data mining and with the whatever. And I just don't know. And I don't care enough, right? Like, I'm just a guy playing a game, having a blast. I hope ESG does better. I hope Logical continues as a part of this community. I hope they freaking work together. That would be sick. I'm not trying to be anything other than a dude playing the game. So yeah, that's that. Now there was quite a bit of other Tarkov news to talk about, but before
I'm hungry.
Before we get there, are you hungry? Oh, dude.
I'm actually legitimately, I haven't eaten all day.
Let me
starving.
Fill your face hole with some knowledge, because we want to take a second to thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is HelloFresh. Yes, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. You can reach your goals with delicious, calorie smart, and protein smart lunch and dinner options. HelloFresh is awesome. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. I have used HelloFresh extensively. I've got a stack, 3 inches, 4 inches thick of HelloFresh recipes. We have used it for quite some time now, and I really legitimately, as like a family man, can't recommend HelloFresh highly enough. Not only the big thing for me is always the how you can customize your experience. You can pick protein, you can pick vegan, you can pick family, you can do 4 people, 6 people, you can do 3 meals a week, 4 meals a week, 5 meals a week. You can change any one of those things every single week. You can skip a week if you're going on vacation. It's like the opposite of the meme of trying to cancel a gym membership. You know what I mean? Where like the meme is like you have to sign a contract and then drive to Ohio and do this. It's like the complete opposite. It's like whatever you want every week. It's totally fine. And I love that as just like a consumer friendly type of thing. And then the food is freaking delicious. We've been loving it,
dude. It's been HelloFresh honestly has been a part of like my therapeutical therapeutical therapy. Just to be able to toss on a podcast or a YouTube video over on the counter, and take a 20-minute break from like making content or sitting in front of the computer and actually doing a normal human task like cooking. Bro, I just did yesterday. Tried the Mushu pork.
Oh, pork bowls? Yeah, brother.
Literally, it was like 19 minutes.
Yeah.
I got to watch it with Asmongold on the side, make some Mushu pork. My wife looked at me like I was a real human man for the first time in a long time. yeah, the food's phenomenal. And I mean, like literally what more is there other than to say that it's convenient and easy and the
And
food is
delicious.
amazing.
Yeah, like legitimately, like the biggest thing. I mean, speaking of like therapy, a huge weight on with me working as much as I do, my wife taking care of the 2 kids 24/7. A huge weight on our shoulders was like the day of the week we had to like make the meal plan. How many days are we going to be eating? What do we want to eat? What do you feel like? What are you going to feel like on Friday? I don't know. What do we need? We got the ingredients. I forgot to put buns on the grocery list. We're making hamburgers. I forgot to put buns. Like that whole thing. I just hate that so much. I love cooking, but I hate that part of it. So just being like, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. And then you have everything you need. It's just like, it's so great. So it's awesome. You can get all sorts of snacks in addition to the meals that come. There's 40 recipes you can choose from. There's also quick and easy recipes, including fast and fresh options that you can make in 15 minutes or less. It's awesome. So you can go to HelloFresh.com/Pogcast16 and use code Pogcast16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That is HelloFresh.com/Pogcast16. Use code Pogcast16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Yeah, I knew it was coming. So at the tail end of the drama, separate from the drama, we got the other like weird freaking Nikita tweet was just 6 letters. EFT API. That was it. No period. No nothing. And then Logical responded, I'll be the first to sign up regardless of if it's free or not. Count me in. And then Nikita hit him with the like A-OK emote, which I just found funny.
You know what? God, the only thing worse than like drama and the cringeworthy stuff is the friendliness after the fact. It drives me insane. I know I'm being like a negative Nancy on both sides of it, but at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, come on, yeah. Like, oh, now you're friends,
it's
okay?
Like, fight.
Like, God Almighty, you know?
Yeah. So, can you explain a little bit about what is an API and what are just like a few use cases that could happen? Because I believe in the past, guys like you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, have advocated for like, please just give us an API and then this gets so much simpler. And they're like, no. So what does this mean?
So API stands for Application Programming Interface.
Okay.
An interface is a thing in between two things.
In between your face.
Sure.
In between my face and the phone battery.
Yep. Nailed it. Listen, you explain it.
It's all the cascading style sheets, really. It's just
yeah. Yeah, CSS, your favorite programming.
It's like an endpoint, you know what I mean? API endpoint, you just
well, yeah, you're onto something there.
You're good.
So basically what an API in this context is it's a middle point between the server and all of their database information.
Okay.
And anything on the outside world. So today, there's always been an EFT API. It's just their internal API. Yeah, there's only ever one consumer of the API, and the only consumer is your game client.
Gotcha. Understood.
So like Battle Buddy, I'm connecting to an API that is running on Google servers. But I also own the back end and the database and everything like that. So ostensibly what this whole thing is about would be taking that API and what I'm trying to figure out like the best way to like word this accessibly. All an API really is like a contract where it's, hey, I can give you this information.
Okay.
If you want this information, here's how you ask for it. And then I'm going to tell you how to give it to you. I tweeted, I don't know if you saw my tweet.
I don't think I did.
I'll put it in chat here. So why when I copy paste the entire URL? Okay. So I did some screenshots.
Okay.
Because I ended up tweeting. I said, "What's an API and what would it mean for EFT? It would allow third-party apps to get information about the game directly from BSG servers, maybe even allow things like collecting insurance to do stash management." In 2019, in June of 2019, I went back and I saw it's been 4 years, almost exactly. So if you see the pictures,
Yep.
that I have attached to that tweet that I tweeted on June 25th. For anybody watching this later on, go to my Twitter. My Twitter is Veritas with 2 I's, Veritas Games. You can check out that tweet. So that was me writing up some kind of mock documentation for, like, just as a starting point for a discussion around an API, because we were talking about maybe having a mobile app to be able to collect insurance and to do stash management and all this stuff. We were throwing around. Nikita was interested. And, this eventually ended up being like, I gave him time frame. I gave him costs. He said, "Oh, I can get like a bunch of Romanians to do it for, for like the cost of 2 goats or whatever." And then he, announced that they were planning on doing that. And then it's been 4 years and that has since gone to the wayside. And I'm sure it worked out well because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But what you can see here is essentially it's the contract I was talking about. Codified in this documentation where it's like, okay, hey, my server, I have all this information. I'm not gonna tell you anything about my database. You don't need to know anything. All the interface is, you press this button over here, I'll give you the trader information in this format. You press this button over here, I'll give you all of the item information. If you want to do this activity, you send me this request with this information. I'm expecting this to come with it. A lot of times it involves like an authorization token. That's how you log in, all of this stuff. So it's basically just a contract between some client and the server. I'm aware that I'm doing a terrible job, and I'm just thinking about all of my I'm thinking about how me is like, oh God, I hate the way I'm explaining this.
And it needs to be a simple explanation, but essentially it's either, I don't know if it's a separate API they would create or a fork off of their API, but it basically allows them to set up something that they can allow third parties in the community create tools for, because they are in control of the flow of information to that API. They know that if given access to that API, they can't get things that BSG doesn't want them to get. Is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, in a nutshell, they have their API and there's probably like 100 different endpoints that they can hit. Chances are, if there's a public API, it would be like 15.
Yeah.
And it would also be very carefully sanitized. Because the reason why people are like, why don't they just open up their API today? Well, because I guarantee you it's a mess. It's a good example is like, why don't you listening right now, why don't you let a bunch of strangers into your house to judge you? You don't get any time to clean, to pick up the laundry, to do the dishes, to pick up the baby all over the floor in the corner, not baby, I mean like, hopefully not baby. You know what I mean? But like, you live your life and we're all generally kind of, normal, clean people, right? But like, over the years, you get messy with information and the formatting, and you make a bunch of kind of band-aids all over the place. And so the reason why not everybody has a public API is for one, if you want it to be presentable, that takes work. You need to tidy everything up. You need to make sure that you're not going to cause all kinds of issues for other people, because if you're supposed to send a list of things and you only send one thing not in a list, you're going to crash applications. Like that'll just crash applications because they're expecting a format. If they're expecting an integer and you give them a string, that's going to be like bad news bears for a lot of people. But then also there's security and performance implications. Because now imagine they want to, and also like administrative kinds of things, right? Because it's like, you want to open up access to the API. Well, you're probably going to have to go somewhere and create an account, like on a like developer.escapefromtarkov.com. They need to make that website with a portal where you can sign up. You need to be able to sign up and create an account there. They need probably some way to determine whether or not you can have API access or not. They also need to show all of the information. Someone needs to write out all of the documentation because it's probably internal.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to prettify it and make it so that it's readable. The English is good, that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much work that goes into
just creating
something
an API
that is an internal thing to then something being an external shipping product. It's like, what's the difference between the first prototype, Tesla that they made and what they ship? It's years and years of polishing and a marketing team over here and a UX team over here. And, it's just a completely different thing. And the same can be said. People were talking about this earlier when we were talking about the whole logical solutions things. Like, why don't they just open it up to modding? Well, because, like, why don't you just open up your house to have an addition put on by anybody who wants it on there?
just
like, you need to prepare yourself. There's work that needs to be done. You need to make sure your foundation is all set before other people start building on top of it. But then also, you need to deal with things like rate limiting, whether it's people who are being nefarious or not. Some idiot might accidentally put the request in a loop. What happens when my iPhone simulator on my computer, while I'm implementing my little Android app that I want to make that does the thing, sends 1 million requests a minute to your server? I just DDoSed every single person, right? So it's like, you need to have rate limits. You need to have all this information about the rules and the usages. And you also need multiple environments because people need to test. So if you open it up to developers, you need test servers. That's essentially a clone of all of the server and database so that they don't f up your live environment with their thing. So it's just so much work that needs to go into it. But what that would allow is you wouldn't need to data mine. What you would be getting less information than what you could get via data mining.
For sure.
But you could also get the information straight from the source. What I have to do is, like, for Battle Buddy, it's effectively is some third party gets the information, how they get the information. And then I have a script that goes and grabs the information from a third party, formats it in the way that I need it, and puts it on my server so that my clients can go to my server and get it in the way that I define it. That's a lot of work and probably some breaking of the rules of, whatever.
So you could get it directly from the source.
Where if I could just say, hey, BSC, what are all the items? And the benefit of that is that when there's an update, I don't need to go through and, like, there are times where if I had been, like, less clever about how I implemented some of these things, if BSG added 5 new guns, I might have to go through and manually input the name and the description and the caliber and whatever in the database, and it becomes a part-time job. Keeping the information up to date because you're not getting it from the horse's mouth. So, like, and there's layers to it. There's, like, we've talked a lot before about, like, I'm super excited about an idea and I'm like, oh, this would fix this thing in Tarkov. Like, when we were talking about just as an example, we were talking about, like, oh, if there's an event, it's simple. You should just get a message in your messenger. And you were like, no, take it all the way. The messenger sucks. We need to get rid of the messenger and do it a different way. And I'm like, oh, you're right. So there's multiple layers to this. There's, like, stuff that we shouldn't need API access to get, like ammo charts, right? Like, why the hell have we had to data mine that? Why does that have to be in your app? There should just be stats for the ammos in the goddamn game. You know what I mean? But then the next layer is, if they started to do that better and then the API was there, it also helps them draw the more clear line in the sand when it comes to things like data mining, because then they're like, here, any information that is not gotten via the API will take action against your account. You know what I mean? And then it's a much clearer, everybody, that's in the gray area right now gets to move to the green zone. Just like, it's all good. It's all cool, this information. And then they can say, so it's like,
it's not only cool in what it can do, but it's beneficial, it's potentially beneficial for everybody in the sense that like the lines are much more clear, there's much less gray area, and then there's a lot of cool potential use cases for this. Like Seal was talking about, like a Twitch extension for cool stuff, or like collecting insurance, managing your hideout. There's a lot of cool stuff that could be done. And then even Battle Buddy, like you said, it would benefit Battle Buddy being able to get the information direct. So there's a lot. So that's cool. So like, I mean, I wouldn't like currently all we have from Nikita is literally 6 letters, right? EFT API, you know, this could be like soon, you know what I mean? Streets was supposed to come out in 2019. So Lamau.
People are getting rather imaginative with the ideas for like, there's lots of really cool ideas. And if I worked for BSG, I would be getting inspired and excited by the ideas that people are coming up with. Like, I would love to be able to, if I work for BSG, to be on the API team, to design the ability to, I almost just said like put a player's position on a dot on a map so that there can be like a map overlay. And then I just realized like, nope, like, you can't do that. But these are things you need to think about.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe get the current, I was going to say get the current loadout for a person in case you, or like see the current stats or something. But then I just realized these are all things that are all cool in a world with lollipops and butterflies. When you realize like, do you want anybody to be able to figure out what your loadout is so that they like, you know, if a hacker is able to figure out they're in your game, and I don't know. So these are things you need to think about. But ignoring any nefarious behavior. Just imagine how cool it would be to go to a Twitch stream and to see a little overlay of you could interact with the drop down of the magazine and rotate the little 3D thing to see the bullets. And like, this is all cool and great, but we're talking like, I see like 0% chance of so many of these
of course,
Twitch level interactive things being possible. What I see is most likely is a wiki level, actually not even wiki level, because the wiki has stuff like formulas and whatever. It's going to be a database of items and information like quests or like trader, trader bio or trader stock or whatever. All of those things would be accessible read only. And that to me is the most likely, I want to say like bare minimum, but like also not far from maximum. Like even just the idea of letting you access like insurance or like that. It seems simple.
Oh, I don't believe it would be.
But like, you're just opening yourself up to all kinds of issues with race conditions and like potential exploits and again like performance issues, right? Like, do you want anybody being able to infinitely hit the server as like, it's, you're just opening yourself up. I don't know what kind of information you'd want to be able to access, not to mention the fact that like, if you want to do all these things like, okay, here's something that you haven't thought about. Imagine you want to like claim your insurance. Where are you envisioning that you do that?
Oh, I don't know. App on my phone.
Okay, made by someone not BSG.
Yeah.
So are you going to feel comfortable logging into your Escape from Tarkov account on some app you found?
No. Yeah.
So now we're like,
you're correct.
There's other layers here that like, if you want to do, if you wanted to open up like a wiki level informational thing like Battle Buddy has, I'm not connected to your account. I can serve you information and that's cool and all. As soon as you want to start doing account related stuff, well, now you have to have authentication.
You're right. You're very right.
There's security implications. There's with $150 account, right? Like, I don't want to. I sometimes I hate to click the login with Twitter button on some website.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I didn't pay $150 for Twitter, you know.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
And honestly, they'd be doing me a favor if someone hacked my Twitter and I could
just deleted it.
Nuked my social media off,
Yeah.
so that I could just walk away hands free and I could go grab my getaway bag, get in the Jeep, and go live in the woods, right? You know.
Wow. Hell yeah.
But hell yeah, brother.
All it takes is Veritas's Twitter to go down, and he's out in the woods in 3 days.
But this is like the interesting thing, right? Like if you want to interact with a lot of these things,
yeah, no, you're right.
You're doing some OAuth login like you do with Gmail, but now with Tarkov.
Yeah, that perspective, and that's why I asked you, because like that perspective is crazy. It's just like an idiot. I don't know any of this kind of stuff. I go wild. I'm like, oh, it'd be sick to do this and that would be crazy. Like that'd be cool. But then you're like, even something as simple as that question, like, okay, if you want to move something around in your stash, that means you're logging in. And if it's third party, that means those guys could have a freaking Excel spreadsheet with everyone's username and passwords. And then suddenly I'm like, this is not a good idea. So API, you know, obviously it's an exciting thing and people kind of ran with it. There's no date there. It isn't even confirmed that it's happening. I mean, I guess it kind of is confirmed because like he tweeted that and then the BSG account retweeted it, but whatever. But nobody knows what it's going to be yet. But I just found that to be a little interesting thing. And it helps because API, data mining, nobody, very much so including myself, knows what any of these things are. So it's good to get some perspective on them.
Can you imagine the flea market bots too? That's the other thing.
Oh my God. Bro, do you remember when that was like, that was the thing? It was just like we blamed everything. You know, the community just blamed everything on the flea market bots, dude. It was like,
yeah, and you know, back the funny part was like back in the day, if there were bots, what they were doing basically was like doing OCR, optical character recognition, on the UI. Mm-hmm. And like actually clicking because they didn't have access to an API.
Oh, interesting. It was just looking for.
So it had to use the client. It's the same thing that like Rat Scanner does.
Yes.
It doesn't have.
It's just looking at your screen and it's trained to know what things look like. It's the same thing
when you pull up your phone and it recognizes a QR code or it translates from, you know, Japanese or whatever to English. It's basically doing that, but rather than taking the text and sending it to Google's Translate API. Yeah. Which takes, you know, it'll be like api.google.com/translate and then question mark source language equals JAP or JP or whatever the code is in a particular format, the, you know, ISN whatever, and then comma dest lang as in destination language equals ENG. And then when you if you were to like type that in to your browser and hit enter, what you would see is a white screen with some text in the upper right hand corner that had like bracket response : and then, you know, the message in quotes or whatever, right? Like that's how the API works. You send a request. You send a request to a server. There's a particular endpoint because you're the one that said endpoint.
Yeah.
Endpoint. All that is slash something.
Yeah.
When you go to twitter.com/veritasgames/status, that's a request to the status endpoint. And then you see /16728 blah 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 /photo/1. That's me sending a request saying, give me the photo index 1 for that number of this status for this user at Twitter, and it serves you a JPEG file.
Yeah. Interesting.
So this would just be like there'd be an items endpoint, and the items endpoint would take like you'd give it a number of items, and there's probably pagination where it's like start number 69. Nice. Count equals 50, and it would give you the next 50. You know, that's how you do like infinite scrolling.
Oh.
It's literally you're hitting an endpoint and it says, you know, give me the items, count 50, start 0, and it gives you 50. And then right before you get to the bottom,
it does it again.
Application is going, yo, give me 51 to, you know, 100. And then it fetches it and then renders the UI while you're scrolling. And that's how pagination works, is you're just basically sending repeated requests to the same endpoint with different parameters.
That's fascinating. And it makes sense.
I can't think of anything that they would do that wouldn't be just like, give me the guns and give me the like images for all of the guns.
No, I get you. That makes sense. That actually makes sense. That's fascinating. Okay, so moving on to like things actually happening in the video game. We got a new event. Another Monday to Thursday event. Another event that started on a Monday, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe started Tuesday. I don't know. It started midweek. A not weekend event, which is nice because then it helps us talk about it on the podcast. But we got a new event, and there was a cool like video post. It was like cult, all the cult stuff, and like a TV with static, and then a message and a thing. And we got a new event, and all of the cultists are 100% spawn chance on all of the maps that the cultists spawn on. So woods, shoreline, customs, and factory only at night. The cultists were 100% spawn chance. And dude, okay, so like the Halloween event where the cultists were 100% spawn chance was one of my favorite events. It was just like chaos and fun. And so I love this event. I think my thoughts on it are the events, so many people have said that they hate the event. And then when they describe why they hate the event, they actually love the event. They just hate the underlying thing that was always there. And so like this event is such a good event. And it's just reminding people how poorly the cultists just are in general, right? Like the cultists could be so cool, and they've missed the mark, and they're so rare because nobody plays night raids. And when you play night raids, there's only like a 10% chance to spawn. You know what I mean? Within these specific, I faced the cultists
3 times in all my time playing Tarkov.
Within this specific time, but like they're so brutal, and we're not. I don't even want to beat the dead horse. We've talked many times about how they don't have to be. Simple solutions could be done now. That goes a long way. That holds us over until longer and better solutions. Some more logical solutions could be done.
Nice.
Yeah. So I love the event. It doesn't take long before I get tired of fighting the cultists because it's just like I want. It's cool. But then, dude, classic. Okay, so there's a quest. There's another quest. And this is following now the 3rd time in a row they've done an event, they've done a quest, and the quest is to like put something back on traders, which is an interesting thing to do late wipe, but whatever. So we got the Bloodhounds quest, and that added like BP. We got the 100% boss spawn quest, and that added PvP back to the traders. This adds both of the underbarrel grenade launchers, which you couldn't previously buy, I don't think. Or maybe you could barter for them if you did quests. Anyways, it adds the underbarrel grenade launchers that you can attach to the M4 and the AKs back to the list. But you have to kill 30 cultists, and you are not allowed, but they're 100% spawn chance, but you're not allowed to kill a scav at any point.
God
with a quest.
Almighty.
Dude, when I tell you, bro, I'm like, who is in charge of these quests? Like, I just don't understand it, dude. I got to like 15 cultists, and I heard something running at me, and I swung the corner, and I pre-fired it, and it was a scav, and I got the quest failed thing. And that on that single first try, I was like, I'm done. I was like, oh, let's run Night Factory. Like, I want to fight the cultists. That's fun, but like, I'm not restarting the quest. Valiant got to 28. And threw a grenade, I think, at a PMC, and it blew up and killed a scav, and he restarted his quest. And I was just like, dude.
And if he had a quest that was kill scavs with grenades, it would have taken him 6 months to do. Yeah. You only ever do by accident, dude.
Dude, it's like, it was the same thing. The Bloodhounds event would have been a resounding W of an event without the quest. Everybody would have been excited. Everybody hated that because the quest tainted it, and then they changed it and whatever. This was like, Dude, the 100% cultists are such a cool thing because it doesn't even affect the base game that much. So few people run night raids that if you don't want to interact with this event, just play like normal, like play customs all day long, and you'll never run into dudes farming the cultists, right? Like you would.
I would actually play night raids if they were in every raid.
Yeah,
every night raid.
And so like it was like the event was so good, but so many people coming in and being like, dude, this quest is dumb. I can't get it done. I keep dying. I keep killing a scav. And I'm just like, oh, it's so brutal. So I did exactly what I did with the Bloodhound quest. I failed it once. I said I'm ignoring the quest. And then I enjoyed the event. It's like ignoring the quest. And it just hurts because I know that they do these events and they want the community to enjoy them. And they're so close to the community enjoying them. You know what I mean? It's like, just make the quest unlock something completely arbitrary. Once again, you could have done 50 cultists without dying. You could have done 50 cultists without killing a scav, and you get a cultist armband, and nobody would have cared, right? Like nobody would have cared because you're not unlocking anything. I'm not missing out on something that the Giga Chads are going to have to use to kill me. It's just cosmetic is for the quest. Other than that, we don't need the quest, and it would have been a fun event. You know what I mean? So like, dude, it hurt my soul to see just the exact same thing happen again, where you're like, cool event, cool quest. Oh, this quest sucks.
That's what I mean, man.
Dude.
That's what I mean, man.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm talking about, man.
Now, the cultists...
His dad could have come to my baseball game this time. Yes, Dad. Like, your dad's changed. Your dad, he loves you. He's just... And then here's where you look at Jim Carrey at work, right? And he's like, oh, I gotta go to my son's baseball game. And they're like, oh, you know what, John, I'm gonna fire you if you don't. Oh, okay, I guess I'm just gonna be a bitch and I'm gonna let my son down. And
yep, that's
BSG is Jim Carrey in or Tim Allen in Santa Claus, right? Wasn't he like not there for his kid?
Yeah.
That's the trope, right? The whole I'm gonna be there, I promise. You know, just not this
and
time.
this time
okay,
when
Dad.
you really meant it, something comes up, but it was too many times.
And then Nikita falls off the roof, and you have to don the Nikita suit if he dies.
Yeah. Yep. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
The Nikita clause.
Nikita clause, yes.
Yeah.
So the Cults event, I mean it's fun. It's torn, fun, but it sucks because they don't stab you. They just spawn in and run at you and you die, and that's just how it is. But honestly, packed night factories are always kind of fun. But yeah.
I never experienced that still to this day.
Yeah, well, the event is over, so not that you were chomping.
That was my desire to play.
Yeah, not that you were chomping at the bit to like hop on and play the event. Yeah, I mean it is fun. Like it's like full night factory lobbies, man, with 3 cultists. It's like it's chaos. It's fun, especially late wipe. It's like it's just fun. You know what I mean? But then you die to them 5 times in a row because they just beam you. They can freaking spawn up in the rafters too, bro. It's terrifying.
Yikes.
And they don't make footsteps. And they don't miss. Oh, bro. So, okay, so speaking of the AI, I did a funny little experiment. Not that we need any more ammunition to describe that the AI sucks in Tarkov. But I was on streets and I was like in a sniping spot and I got hit, I think 3 times in a row by a scav that he was just like, he just like, I ADS'd on him and he turned around and he started shooting at me and I killed him. And somebody just mentioned something as a meme. They mentioned like MOA. And I was like, wait a minute. So I crawled down from my sniper spot. I ran out to the scav, stood on the dead body, rangefinder to where I was standing. It was 99 meters, which is great because MOA is 100. You know what I mean? And I picked up his gun and it was an iron sight, I think Saiga, 9mm Saiga, 10-round mags. And the MOA was 9. So I was like, not that we need more ammunition, but at 100 meters, hitting me 3 times in a row with an iron sight Saiga with an MOA of 9 is insanity. You know, so I'm trying to scoop some of the realism chads onto team nerf the AI. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what is that? 9 inch?
It's radius, not diameter.
Radius.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a 18-inch, a 1.5-foot circle where any shot would land. So with iron sights, and they never ADS, right? They're freaking point firing iron sight, 9 mil, 100 meters away, consistent hits. You know, but remember, if the AI wasn't hard, we would never die and the game wouldn't be fun. So, that was just, I just remembered that, and that wasn't even on the list. We got some new Streets teases today. I know you are pumped about that, but we got 4 new pictures from the Streets expansion. It's so funny because like
It shows Killa standing over some bodies.
Yeah.
It shows a bunch of people running in place over in this sick new corner of the map.
Yeah.
It shows the AI standing over a bunch of other bodies over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. So new Streets pictures, they look great. I love that map so much. I streamed for 7 hours today, and all I did was run Streets, and it's just keeping me alive playing that game. I love the map. And then the only other, I just found this funny psychologically. The only other Tarkov thing was today. Okay, so I'm walking around. I'm trying to find a PMC that I heard earlier in this area in Lexos, and I'm like checking all the buildings, and I open a door, and my plan was I've got an angle to my left down towards check 15. Let me see if I see anybody down there. So I open the door and I swing to the left and I ADS because the plan was to like check down. I know check 15 is right down there. Check this long angle. And as I ADS, there was a guy just crouched right outside the door to my left. So I just panicked and shot and backed up a little bit and I killed him. And I was like, we were like, whoa, like that was crazy. He made no noise. And then somebody in chat said he said like, okay, good to know that there are still knowers. My man took forever to kill a scav, but pre-fired the corner where the PMC is. And I even said, I was like, bro, are you accusing me of cheating? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yes, like legitimately. I was like, yes. I was like chat was like rejoicing. I was like, dude, I'm good enough to be considered a cheater. And dude, and the conversation, this guy was not like, he was delusional, but he wasn't toxic. He wasn't like yelling,
he's just an idiot,
or all caps or calling anyone names. So I talked to this guy for like 30.
A reasonable idiot.
Yeah. I talked to this guy for like 30 minutes, dude. And I was like, dude, I was like, bro, you think I'm cheating because of that clip? And he was like, absolutely. And he was like, all streamers cheat, all the Tarkov streamers cheat. And I was like, oh yes,
okay,
bro.
never mind, he's not reasonable.
I know. I was like, dude, yes. I was like, bro, you're like, I was like, dude, you're just like on another planet and you don't even realize it.
Listen, Jesse, you're not cheating. The earth is round.
Yeah. Dude. And so I just and I even said this out loud, but like immediately I was like, chat, I was like, there's nothing we can say to change his mind. So let's have a different conversation. I was like, we're in that, the freedom of understanding that the person you're speaking to is not in a position to have their mind changed. They're not open to that. They're not open to new information. It's a different conversation. The weight is gone.
For me, exactly. It's the same thing. I'm like, I want to study you and the way you think. I'm like,
just answer my questions. I'm like interviewing them at that point, 100%. And
but why are you getting so? Why are you getting so caught up and the stream is derailed by the troll, dude?
No,
he's just trolling you.
I'm like, bro, we're having fun. I was like, let's have some fun with this guy. You know what I mean? Like it was so great because dude, and he just kept going. He was like, he said something along the lines of, he was like, I can't believe, I can't believe in any way that anybody that streams this game consistently, that wants to get ahead doesn't cheat. I just think at this point, if you're streaming this game and you're playing it full time, you're absolutely cheating. And I was like, man, I was like, so first of all, I was talking to him about like, I was like, do you understand like the when it becomes goes back to when it becomes everybody, then like you've closed the loop and nothing can be done, right? So if you say everybody, all streamers are cheating, and anybody that says they're not cheating is part of the conspiracy, that's of course what a cheater would say. It's a closed loop.
It's a black hole of logic and reason and evidence.
It'll go round and round forever. Like you're
because evidence to the contrary is evidence of some sort of cover-up or denial, and lack of evidence is also evidence of a cover-up or denial.
It's like your point even couldn't be proven. You've closed the loop away from anything provable or disprovable. You've separated yourself. You're arguing on a different plane of existence when it's just everybody in this group of people is this. If they say they aren't, it's because they're a part of it or they're covering it up. And a lack of evidence, if you say anything, you're a part of it because you're covering it up. If you're not even trying to defend yourself, which is an admission of doing it. And it's like, and so I was trying to like explain, like, I'm not going to convince you I'm not cheating, but like, do you understand like how this, works or whatever, you know what I mean? And I was like, and I think I asked at some point, I was like, what would convince you? Like, how would you, like, is there anything? And he was like, dude, and he was like, the only out would be, I need to see gameplay that looks like mine. Like, I need to see somebody getting one tapped out of nowhere, or dying to a scav. And
stick around,
I was
bro.
like, bro, dude, you just embarrassed yourself. Because I was like, first of all, you haven't been in my stream more than 8 seconds. Did
you pull up a watch time?
If you haven't, no, I did better. I was like, you haven't been in my stream for 8 seconds if you haven't seen me get one tapped by a scav. I, who streams full time, does YouTube, 2 kids, a wife. In the little amount of time I get to watch other streams like Landmark, I see him die all the time. Willers died to like cracked sniper scav, right? All the time. I was like, so you haven't been, I was like, brother, you want to see gameplay like that? And I pulled up youtube.com/JesseKazam. And I was like, I have 342 videos in a highlight reel playlist. 80% of my content is me dying and just laughing about it. Like, I'm not good. I'm not Landmark, right? Almost all of this content. It's like, you want to see? And I clicked on a video and
but that's what.
And,
no, go ahead.
And the first clip was I just clicked on a video and the first clip was me running around labs, rounding a corner. There were 3 dudes there and I died. What does he say?
Well, yeah, of course. That's what you would expect when, like, obviously you need to make it not obvious. So you're gonna.
He said, well, that's performative. That's the performance. You have to make content. So I was like, okay. I was like, again, brother, let's talk about this. You said the only out is you want to see gameplay.
Here's the goalpost.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I told him. You said the only out was you want to see gameplay that looks like yours. If you are seeing it, it means I am streaming it or putting it on YouTube. And if anything I show you on the stream or on YouTube is being called performative, you've closed the loop again. Like, it was a different loop that you closed. I will only believe you if I see it, but if you're streaming it or recording it, it's performance and you're doing it on purpose. I was like,
bro, that mindset, this is part of what I did my 300-page honor thesis for my undergraduate
it was so
honors.
Great.
It was partially about that phenomena.
Yeah.
The people experience the cognitive dissonance, and it's like the robot, it's like short circuit, like must rationalize away out. Like they've come up with a conclusion.
Yeah,
they've made up their mind. They're emotionally attached to that, probably because of years of getting cucked by Tarkov and then only seeing highlight videos from streamers. And bitterness and resentment about some unrealistic expectation, right? So now he's basically like completely locked in. And no matter what, he doesn't even realize it. It's not a conscious thing, which is the hardest thing, right? Because him pointing to you and saying you're cheating,
Yeah.
you like the way that you feel is like, yeah, no, obviously, like, because you know the truth,
Yeah.
right? Is the exact same way that he feels
Yeah.
when you answer back with whatever, because he like
He's like, I know.
the logic is short circuited, and he's like, no,
And it's
absolutely
so
not. Like,
deep.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I could be convinced.
Yeah.
I'm rational. I'm reasonable. Whatever. And
It's as
they
crazy
just,
to him that I am not a cheater as it is to me that I would be. And what's funny is that, like, I felt like I stepped out of biology 101 as a freshman and then was placed in charge of like explaining the history of the human existence. I was like,
genome.
I was like, I suck at this game. I was like, how? I was just like reveling in the fact that I was the one defending this. I was like, dude, I'm so not good. Like, if you were having this conversation with Landmark or Willers, it's like I can at least see it because they're just so good. But I was like, brother, this is just the wrong stream. So
and you know
put
what?
your foot down. I'm so bad. Like,
it probably at some point, either consciously or subconsciously, went through his head that your reaction, which I understand, and most people who are reasonable will know exactly why you were like, what the that was so over the top and a part of the whole thing that it's almost more suspect.
You know what's crazy though? I was laughing hysterically at this, dude. Today was the best day of Tarkov in months. I was crushing. This 45 minutes where I'm talking to this guy, I'm wiping squads and surviving every raid. It was hilarious. I was like, dude, when I play solo, I die every raid. I'm a duo guy. I'm a duo Andy, but I have enough money. I just don't care. And I was playing solo streets, and I'm just like, I'm telling him how dumb he is for thinking I'm cheating, and then I'm peeking, and I'm just peek down this, and a guy pops up, and I'm like, oh my god.
Did it even for a nanosecond? Just for a nanosecond, did you think like, I need to throw this, like, to make this like look less sus, like, because this is like unreasonable?
I didn't consider throwing. What I did think for a nanosecond was like, oh, somebody is gonna start believing him. Like, I'm gonna accidentally push someone over the edge into conspiracy. It was so funny, dude. It was so funny. And then when I did finally die, I was like, he thinks I threw that just for the, like, I didn't throw it, but like he thinks.
And at the same time, you were a little bit relieved that you, this is the life that we live,
it's
dude.
So funny. Dude, you're not, the pièce de résistance, dude. We were talking, somebody in chat mentioned, like, somebody was like, I mean, doesn't it kind of make sense that streamers are most likely the people that play the game and an exorbitant amount of time more than the average person? So wouldn't it be fair to say that most of them are probably better and would perform better? And I was talking
no, logically it makes sense that we have the most to gain from it.
Yeah. No, well, I was telling him, I was like, you're right. That's a fair assessment. Because this was a separate person. This was like a guy who was like trying to disprove the guy who thought I was a cheater. And he said that, and I was like, no, man. I was like, so here's the thing. And so I was like, what's happening is like, I heard this quote, man. I heard this quote, and it was conspiracy theories are asking questions and refusing to gain the answers to them. And I was like, what he's doing is he's taking the least likely possible scenario statistically, and because it's so unlikely, he's convinced that is what it has to be. So like, right. So like if you close your eyes and scroll and you click on a Tarkov streamer, you might click on me. It's not a 0% chance I'm cheating. Like, to you, you're like, there's a chance this guy's cheating, but then you watch or whatever, and you're like, oh, he's got 10,000 hours on his account, and you start to piece together. You're like, statistically, he's probably just really good at the game. There's a chance he's cheating, but it's like I don't know a sealable bag that personally, right? Like, could he be cheating? It's not 0. And then they take all of those tiniest percentages, and that's how they answer every question. And everything is the most ridiculous answer. And I swear to God, Veritas, as I am explaining that, his chat message is, because he was in a separate conversation with other people in chat, and they were talking about how, like, he was like, well, man, I just, like, once I got it confirmed that every single raid I was in had a cheater, then I really started thinking about my life this way. And as I'm explaining this whole thing with like statistics and stuff like that, he messaged the other guy and he was like, well, the reason I've confirmed that there's a cheater in every single one of my raids is that I found that when I avoid high tier loot areas or other spawns early in the raid, I survive more. And I was like, what? Like, dude, his like, I was explaining how he was taking the least statistically likely thing and making it his answer. And then he types in chat, he says, when I avoid PvP spots and high tier loot, I survive more raids. I was like, dude, could there be another explanation?
No, so this is it's how he arrives there.
Dude.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because it is the antithesis of the skeptical scientific mindset, which is to say you might have a hypothesis, but you don't know the answer, and effectively you are trying to gather as many observations as you can that will lead you to the truth.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee, it's a process, right?
Yeah.
What these people do, the opposite of that is the conspiratorial mindset, which is I have the answer.
Yeah.
And then everything you look at, you can fit.
That's a good way to put it.
So if someone's cheating, why is it that I survive? Well, it's because if they're cheating, well, then whatever his logic was, I don't even know.
They're going to the high tier loot spot. So if I avoid those places, I'm not running into the cheaters. I survive more. Everyone must be cheating.
So it never crossed his mind. He never asked, why are people going there?
Yeah.
He asked, where are the cheaters going?
Yeah.
Right? Because he's starting with the conclusion. That's why it's circular.
Yes.
That's the whole problem.
Yeah. So like,
none of all of the stuff is logically consistent and coherent. It's just it just doesn't comport with reality. It's internally, it's its own internal thing where if there's cheaters in every raid, then what he's saying makes sense. If every streamer is cheating, what he's saying makes sense.
The logic is consistent to the reference point. The reference point happens to be the universe we have hot dogs for fingers, not real life. Yeah,
the sky's a volleyball in that universe.
Yeah, not a basketball, right?
Not a basketball.
Which it is definitely here a basketball. So, dude, I was so happy that I had the conversation with the guy, right? Like that I didn't just like insta ban him, because it was just, man, it was like
you got to see the ape in the zoo behind the cage. And the weird behavior where you're like, this is so fascinating to me.
Dude, it was like, man, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. And the dude, and like somebody gifted him a sub, you know what I mean? Just like for the memes.
Hey, dude.
And then he ended up saying like, I will tell you what though, I'll always give props to a streamer who's chill and you earned a follow. And then he just kind of like left. Like he didn't get banned. Like he wasn't disrespectful to anybody, even when he was arguing with them. And I was like, dude, homie, you're welcome here anytime, brother. Like
I just lost respect for him because if he really believes you're cheating, then you.
True.
Right? Like stand up for yourself, you spineless coward. Either you believe it, stand by your morals, right? Like God
even
almighty.
If they're crazy morals.
Who are these in your chat that are sitting there letting you say, like, deny the thing that he's sure of? Either he's sure of it or he's not. I'm actually pissed right now. What a spineless hypocrite. Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh my
God damn it.
God. Yep.
You know, and that's where you start to like really doubt that the people believe that they believe, right? It's If you believe that Clinton is a lizard woman, then why when you like met her in person were you like kind of respectful? I would have tried to rip off the wig and see the slit tongue. You know what I mean? Like you don't actually believe this that you seemingly act and live your life as if you believe.
Yeah. Yep.
It drives me up a wall, dude. That people just flip switches in their brains.
Yep.
And I hate it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I still don't know if he, like, you know what I mean? Like, I still think that there's a very real possibility that, like, he doesn't believe any of it and he was just like making it up. Either way, it ended up being hilarious. Dude, I don't know. It was epic. It was just epic and weird and surreal and fascinating and hilarious, and like, and the timing was just like so perfect with some of this stuff. So yeah, I just I say the next, and this applies to all of life. The next time you're in a conversation with somebody about something about something crazy, at the beginning, think, is this person in this time and in this moment, is their mind changeable? Because if it's not, it opens you up to some fun conversations. Like, you're free.
You want to know something? You want to know something?
What?
The answer to that question being, is their mind changeable? Being yes, even if there's a small percentage, that is arguably, like, me asking that question and answering yes, I think, even if it's a small chance, is like a large part of my like mental health downward spiral. Was trying to change their
give
mind.
them the benefit of the doubt that it was changeable. Yeah.
Trying to help.
Yeah.
And that ends up in a black hole downward spiral corkscrew of negativity breeding negativity, because people start to question whether they're legitimate.
For sure.
Sometimes they turn on you and completely become.
Yeah.
You have to then defend them, the person you disagree with that might be getting on your nerves, to the other people that are calling them disingenuous trolls when they're just maybe wrong or confused.
Yeah.
And so be careful.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Be careful, because I've tried both. I've tried, let's just treat them like trolls.
Yeah.
And let's humor them. And then there's 1 in 100 where they go to bed like kind of in tears that night because they feel like they just got mocked in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Because they were serious and they realized they were a little stupid and they kind of up, and maybe they're now like embarrassed that the person, or that's A. B, they were trolling and wasting your time the whole time.
Yeah.
And everybody in chat was right. They were just doing it to with you, but it wasn't upsetting you. It was just wasting your time.
Yeah.
It was one of those weird trolls that wasn't like, it would be funny if it was ironic and clever and there was some like twist at the end where it became clear, but just acting like an idiot and having everybody call you an idiot isn't trolling. You're just being an idiot.
Yeah.
So then you're having your time wasted and they're not actually being like, open and intellectually honest and having a conversation. And then there is you can't change their mind because they're have logical fallacies they're they're in the conspiratorial black hole, right?
Yeah.
So you're just wasting your time and hoping that you can save the person from the like logical ledge that you see them on.
Yeah.
And it's like a futile thing. Or you can just say, I don't give a I'm just going to keep memeing and playing the game. And that's why so many streamers who are just don't really engage in the kind of debate, discussion, changing minds, education, learning thing.
Yep.
How all the people that just make fart jokes and meme all day long and have fun, not that there's anything wrong with it, they're having a good time.
Yep.
And people like me are miserable trying to work through this.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fascinating conversation I had today. I had a different conversation where somebody was trying to convince me that the cheaters were good for the game, because if there weren't cheaters, then we would just then the game wouldn't be hard because we would all have end game gear. No lie, I didn't even have the conversation. I'm pretty sure I said you're brain dead.
Wait,
and
was
then
this the same
just moved-
person?
No, a different person.
Oh, okay.
The different person. They was like the cheaters are good for the game because
You see, you can tell they're far gone.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You can just be like,
That's the whole, okay, lizard people, gotcha. I know what I'm dealing with. Okay, cool, yeah. And then you like do the with the split tongue, and then they're like do the double take. It's where you wish you had like the vertical eye slit like contact lenses.
Yeah.
You're really with them.
But that's everything happening in Tarkov. There was quite a bit. It was quite a dramatic week. I spent most of it just sleeping, as you know, as a result of the subathon, which was great because I'm something's about to drop that I'm gonna be on like a 24-hour stream for, because like the past like 3 times there's been like huge Tarkov drama. I've like ended my stream right before it happened and just been like, oh, I don't have to deal with this today. And I know that karma's
Tarkov
running
2
out.
comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, and something's gonna happen. But yeah. So that's Tarkov. I don't know. There's other.
Bro, I've been meaning to do this for like months now. I'm reaching out to everybody in the poggers community. I don't know how to say this. I have a game idea that I want to work on prototyping.
Ooh.
I want to likely do work with Unreal.
Okay.
I need, but here's the thing. I'm like a software engineer that has no game development experience, and anybody who's ever done any software knows that like if someone gave me a game that was like 20% built, I could jump in and start working on it right now. But 0% built, it's like, how do I even make a new Unity project? Then you create a project and it's like some default thing. And once you work with it for 6 months, you create a project, delete these 5 folders, make a new directory here, click and drag this thing. Like I just don't, there's so much time wasting. So I want to see if anybody, and I don't know if there's like potential for maybe investing some money, but I don't know. Like I just want to work with a really simple proof of concept that has to do with what I really want. Imagine being able to take a body, a 3D body.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll just simplify it. Imagine being able to take a 3D body, like a skydiver flying through the air, and being able to do procedural-esque animations in between different orientations, like doing a flip or whatever, flying on your belly, flying on your back, right? With some basic controls. Because what I want to work with, what I want to make, if there's one thing I've learned from speedrunning, from Tarkov, from games like Diablo, from all of these things, is how critical and core movement is in video games. So what I need to do in order to figure out if the idea I have is even viable is I need to be able to press buttons, because there's like 5 different ways I can think about controlling it. And this is going to be a really unique game. Think like QWOP, but not AIDS. Which is like literally the worst elevator pitch on planet Earth. Like there couldn't be a worse elevator pitch on planet Earth. Like that's the worst. Like, bro. Everybody that was like interested before was like, oh, never mind, I'm not interested. But it's what I'm talking about is like, it's not just WASD movement. It's not like mouse movement. It's something a little bit more unique and a little bit more complicated that I need to be able to test and prototype.
Yeah.
So, but what I want is to be able to have, even if it's a 2D side view, even to be able to have some sort of control over a character for prototyping purposes. I need somebody to help me. And what I don't want is for someone to be like, I can help you, man. And I'm just like, everybody who's like a beginner or intermediate, like I love you, but me, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people who are like pros, like their time's valuable. Like,
yeah.
But I need someone to help me, because it's something that I bet you people who are really good could probably do it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
And I just don't have the time to go through the weeks of reading documentation
Exactly,
when I've got like videos I'm working on and all kinds of other.
Okay.
So reach out to me
Pog
on
Nation.
Discord or on Twitter. My Twitter DMs are open. Hit me up if you are a competent professional level expertise with Unreal, some amount of expertise with procedural animations, whether it's like IK or I don't think I'm speaking lingo here, but I don't think IK is actually what I want in this case. Just reach out.
Okay.
Because I need to throw some against the wall and see what sticks, and I need to talk to some people about it, because what I'm picturing in my head would be one of the sickest games for like,
dude,
I can't even describe it, because every game that everybody wants to make is the sickest game.
You don't need it, bro. Co-op, but not AIDS is all I'll ever need, bro.
God
That's
almighty.
all I'll ever need.
It's such a bad pitch, but now it needs to be a part of the official.
The silence was the loudest part. It was just like co-op without AIDS, and I was just like waiting for you to like and you were like, no, that's it.
That's okay. That's not. Let me clarify. That's not what the game is.
No, that's the testing environment you need in order to figure out if your idea will work is co-op, but not AIDS. So I got it. It was just so. That was so epic. Oh my god, that was like so genuinely hilarious. Did you see the Cycle Frontier? Did you hear any news about that?
I literally see a bunch of people like tweeting and retweeting about the Cycle Frontier, and usually when I see that, I just keep scrolling.
They're shutting it down. Just they're taking the game down. Done. Boom.
Excuse me?
Yeah, they tweeted they were like September 12th, servers are going down forever. It's been a fun ride. Everything's 95% off. Anybody that's bought the game in the past, however much time, will you get refunds?
What?
Yeah, bro. Crazy.
Unironically dead game?
Unironically dead game. Yeah. You know what's crazy though? Is like, listen, I
never would have guessed.
I haven't played the Cycle in a really long time, and so I definitely don't have like a leg to stand on when I'm talking about like the game itself. A lot of people came out with like, totally saw this coming, like this game sucked or whatever. I mean, a lot of content creators had much better takes. They were like sad to see it go. There were clear issues, but like, you know, we want more games, not less. But a lot of other people were toxic. A lot of the content creators were really good about it. But like, man, the game. So like, I'll say this: the game never really grabbed me. I think there were some things fundamentally that made it so I didn't really want to get addicted to the game. There was a real bad cheating problem in the beginning, but they apparently squashed that, but it did some pretty unrepairable damage. And then secondly, they apparently, from people in the Cycle community, they got rid of wipes. They stopped wiping the game. And apparently that was like a big nail in the coffin, where it was just like there wasn't enough emergent. That's what we talk about all the time, you and me. It's like, if you're going to have a game that doesn't wipe, there has to be emergent gameplay. The gameplay loop can't be reliant on the game. It has to be reliant on the players. If a game like that's not going to wipe, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, anyways, but I will say that to this day, yeah, 07s for freaking, I almost said co-op, 07s for the Cycle Frontier. But what I will say, dude, is what the Cycle Frontier, in my opinion, carved out the premier, the standard, the S+ tier for what all extraction shooters moving forward in perpetuity should do with servers and matchmaking. It's still the best idea we've had yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Big map, servers are up for 6 hours. People are infilling and exfilling all the time. They had a solution for loot generation. There was AI, there was PvP, PvE, quests, a hideout, similar to, it was all that, but you got into a goddamn raid in 4 seconds, and it was dynamic, and you never knew where people were going to be. And so, like, I will say the one thing about that game is that, like, in my opinion, it set the standard for how all extraction shooters should have their servers. It feels like it feels like an iteration on the genre. I know it's funny, everybody's like, Tarkov killer, dies, whatever, but like, in my opinion, like, that contribution to this genre, like, I really, really, really hope other games understand how good of an idea that was, even if they didn't execute on it well enough to keep players engaged in the game. It is the best idea. Like, it is the best idea. You know what I mean?
The worst part about this, I mean, obviously, like, it sucks that a lot of people, I'm sure, like the game. A lot of content creators, like, probably stake their content creation careers on it. But, like, one of the worst parts is that very well might completely dissuade other developers from wanting to enter this space. Yeah. Like, they might be like, oh, well, like, maybe there isn't a market.
Yeah, if the indie devs can't make it, are we going to spend, are we going to spend 500 million on this new game or whatever, or XYZ, or I don't know. So it's interesting, but like, it was just a surprise. It was a surprise to me because I haven't played it in so long, right? Like, if you've played it, you might know, but it was like, it was crazy. It's crazy. So that's that. And then the only other thing I had was, like, BattleBit is still the best game of 2023, IMO. And the reason I put BattleBit on here was, like, so they've been doing drops. So people have been talking about, there's a tournament happening. There's a BSG, like, sanctioned. They're not putting it on, but the Hunt is the organization. They're putting on a tournament. BSG keeps retweeting it. I think BSG, is putting up some of the prize money, and then Irish helped. Anyways, there's the point I'm trying to make is there's going to be drops for this tournament. There's a tournament on the NA is the 1st, EU is the 15th, and there's going to be drops. And everyone was, like, talking about drops, and, like, they're not going to wipe because drops, they're not going to wipe here because there's people are going to be drops, and then drops brings people back to the game, and then it's this and the other. And then we were talking about, like, what the drops have been. Like, the first few times they did drops, it was, like, crazy. It was, like, docs cases and weapons cases. And then, like, the past few times they've done drops, they've done them, like, near a wipe. So it's, like, a hard drive and, like, screws, and use it for your hideout, because everyone's like, if it's good stuff, it ruins the economy, especially if it's early wipe. But then if it's bad stuff, people get really weird and they don't care. And BattleBit's doing, like, 4 weeks of drops, and it's all just skins for the guns. And a bunch of people have done drops, and it's not necessarily that we have skins, but it just had me thinking about, like, drops for Tarkov would be, like, could be so much more impactful if it was like imagine there was, like, you could get, like, a drop every day, every, like, like a lot of people do. It's like, if you watch 7 hours or a day or whatever, you get, like, this, that, or the other. And that stuff could be, like, a gun or an armor or this. But, like, if the reason you were invested in the drops was because, like, at the end of the 7-day or every 5 days, you got a cosmetic, like, what if there was, like, a Twitch drops armband, or a Twitch drops, it wasn't like purple like Twitch, but an upper and lower that you could unlock cosmetic on your character. You can only get that for drops. It affects literally nothing. People put their actual brain through a cheese grater to get the tracksuit exclusively so that they can flex cosmetics. It was just one of those things.
It would have to be, here's the thing though, it would have to be rare. If everybody had it, it's no longer cool. So it almost...
But it doesn't have to be rare, because it still serves the function of what drops are, which is just getting you there for that week.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I don't care if after the drops event, nobody wears the cosmetic. What I'm saying is it still accomplishes the task without freaking screwing up the economy and everybody complaining. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, agreed.
It would be cool. Like, how cool would it be?
I'm just thinking about, like, how many people stopped hanging out in the drops, previous drops, when it was like people just kept getting bolts and milk.
Yeah.
And it was like, if they were better stuff,
Yeah.
it would be more successful from BSG's perspective. So you want
Yeah.
to be able to motivate. Imagine if it was like 1 in every 1,000 was like a golden armband.
Yeah.
Everybody else, 80% chance to get a purple one or whatever. But like, it's that hang the carrot.
I think that's a phenomenal idea, literally. And you could show what the drops were. It was like, when you watch for this many hours, you get an upper, and there's 4 versions of the upper, and this one has a 2% chance to get. Who's not doing that, right? Like, same with the R-band. There's 3 different R-bands. This one only has a 1% chance to get. Bro, it affects gameplay 0%. The cosmetics don't have to be ridiculous. They could be perfectly normal, and as if we don't already have ridiculous cosmetics in the game already. Freaking the ball sack mask and the weird cartoon character things, and we already have a bright Twitch rivals P.A.K.A. and armband. Like, it's like we already have this stuff, but it wouldn't have to be. It could just be like a cool upper and lower, an armband. It would be interesting if, like, instead of adding skins that you could, are you still, oh, you got like -7 FPS there for a second. If like instead of adding an entire mechanic on like getting skins and applying skins to the game, what would it be if they just like, if you watch for this much, you unlock a new barter from mechanic that's like a scar with like a cool camo on it, right? Like, it doesn't, you don't have to create a system to apply skins. It's just like, here's a barter. You know what I mean? So I was just thinking through that, and it just I was thinking through the battle bit drops, and it just got me thinking about how, like, there's other ways that I think you could make the drops for Tarkov equally as or more successful in the attempts to get people watching the game without creating a scenario where everybody wants the items case, but if everyone's getting the items case, everyone's complaining because everyone's getting, like, you know what I mean? You want the cool drop, but if everyone's getting the cool drops and you're complaining because then the economy, everyone's getting BP, everyone's getting this good gun, but I want it. But if it's just bolts, then that's lame and I don't want to watch. And it's like, man, why are we even messing with the economy? You know what I mean? Like I said, people go through insane. People spend 15 million rubles on cosmetics. I spent 6 million rubles on pants. You know what I mean? People grind tracksuit, which is the most insane thing in the world, and they do it for cosmetics. It's like, man, there's
imagine if there was a chance to get like 1 free hideout upgrade.
That would be crazy.
All of the, like, so many people would be able to use it for like their tier 3 solar, right?
Yep.
That's like a gajillion dollars.
Yeah.
Some new players who might be struggling with the bolts or whatever to get all the, like, that's one of those things that might not be interesting for veterans, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like not exactly the target audience per se.
Yeah,
for
you
drops.
want new people coming in. Yeah,
it's new people. It's people who maybe haven't even bought the game yet,
or haven't played it in a long time, and you're trying to generate hype.
To come back in to buy the game so that they can get, like,
yeah.
So
it just made me think. I was just like, damn, man, I feel like there's ways that it could not only be less impactful on the economy, which is a good thing, less things to complain about, and more effective at actually potentially bringing in people. So it was just something I was thinking about. But yeah, so that's the stuff.
Hostess.
Yeah. Freaking traditions around here on the podcast now. But that's the schnooze. That's the Tarkov stuff, Diablo, some other games in there, some existential, psychological, how people interact with each other conspiratorially, and Veritas is gonna live in the wilderness pretty soon.
Bro, we're going through. There's a pattern I'm beginning to see in media now.
Okay.
With movies, TV shows, concepts people are talking about in the news. It's all tied in with all this stuff going on with AI. This whole idea of existential dread, horror, nihilism, all this stuff. It's all like, it's growing.
Yeah.
Like we're I think like humanity is going through a phase, and it might just be like the 20, 30, 40-year-old, like us, this generation, where it's like the simulation theory, all of this stuff is going to start to be more prominent, right? It's in a bunch of different games. It's in a lot of different TV shows. All of a sudden, Black Mirror comes out, and like 4 episodes of this whole season are all about like this
existential
stuff.
dread. Yeah.
It's becoming much more of a common.
That's why
common thing.
I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once so much, because it was like one of the only pieces of media that I've seen that took it one step farther. It was like, nothing has meaning, everything is meaningless, so I choose to assign meaning to you.
Yeah.
So I say, I don't care, I want to be with you. Like that's
can you look in the camera when you say that?
I choose to be with you. That's why I loved it. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, it was one small tiny step past everything is meaningless. And I loved it. The sky is not only basketball, but the earth is a basketball. It's all just hot air.
I could not think of, for the life of me, couldn't think of a response. I tried.
I couldn't even think of,
best.
I didn't even know what I was saying. I just read that comment and I was just going with it. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging and putting up with whatever the hell the podcast has been becoming these past few weeks.
Dude, it's like a 3-hour episode. What a holy.
Yeah. So, but thank you guys. Thank you for the support. It's been crazy. Appreciate you guys. Maybe something crazy will happen in Tarkov soon and we'll be excited. But you know, we're happy to talk about just like whatever. You guys are the best. Thanks for being here. This will be posted on Monday morning on all the places. Thanks for hanging, and we'll definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.